All right, halftime show. Tyler Head's here. David Dare's running the show. Terry Ford, we are just going to cook this baby till 3 o'clock again. Hoops, women's hoops. Later today here on the game. Top 5 tilt. We'll get more into it here in just a little bit with South Carolina, LSU. And I've heard, and we haven't really dug into it yet. I've heard a couple of the shows here, and Preston has said this, and I agree with this 1,000,000,000%.
Yep.
People want to make this a rivalry. Well, it's not a rivalry till both win.
That's usually how those kind of things go. And look, Kim Mulkey's record and reputation obviously speaks for itself. Multiple national championships, including one at LSU just a couple seasons ago. And this is something that I know is probably keeping her up at night this week leading up to this game. The fact that she's never beaten Dawn Staley while at LSU. And even when they won the national championship a couple seasons ago, there was but you didn't beat South Carolina to do it because Iowa took care of Carolina in that Final Four game, obviously. So this is, every time these two teams match up, this is Kim Mulkey out with a point to prove, and Dawn Staley just wanted to continue to keep that winning streak going.
And, and last year again, LSU was like, come on into our house, baby. We're defending national champions.
Yep.
We're going to now show you who's top dog in this conference. And LSU led that game.
They did.
For 35 minutes, 36 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, it was one of the, on the undefeated season, probably one of the toughest challenges, if not the toughest challenge they faced, outside of maybe Tennessee in the finals of the semifinals of the NCAA SEC tournament.
Miracle
which led to them playing LSU again and things getting out of hand.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we had a little WWE.
And Flau'jae Johnson's brother's getting arrested. It was wild.
It was crazy. So basically LSU, and look, Kim Mulkey's a crazy competitor.
Oh, sure.
And she's not going to say it out loud, but it's got to be driving her insane that in her short time so far at LSU, she can't get South Carolina.
Well, listen, she was a hired assassin to come in and unseat Dawn Staley at the top of the SEC. They drug her away from Baylor, gave her a lot of money to do it, saying, hey, come down to this conference. Dawn Staley is wreaking havoc. We need you to do something about it. And again, won the championship, but didn't have to go through South Carolina to do it.
And one of the boxes she hasn't checked yet is beating South Carolina. And even if LSU would later today beat South Carolina, Dawn still got a nice little cushion in the one-loss department in the Mulkey, Staley, LSU, South Carolina matchups.
Yep.
But LSU wants to be South Carolina's rival.
Of course.
You want to be.
Yeah.
At this point. And look, we know how great of a coach Kim Mulkey is. There's talent at LSU. That's a good basketball team.
When Southern Cal and UCLA play, because that's a really big game. Texas and Tennessee
playing last
night. But this game, and again, I think the melee in Greenville probably took it up to another notch. People say, oh, those two teams do not like each other. I want to tune in to see what's going down, in addition to just watching some of the best women's basketball players in the country.
And you watch these moments. Last year, remember, LSU came in here. Was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago, LSU came in here undefeated, if my memory serves me.
Like they
and
are
South
tonight.
Carolina put the whooping on them, broke out a can from the opening tip, and stomped them. And so we look at last year in Baton Rouge. We look at that SEC tournament game where Stone Cold Steve Austin showed up and Mankind and it was on, man.
Yeah, Sting was in the rafters.
Jimmy Superfly Snuka came in with the coconuts. Anyway, it was, so you're right. That kind of takes it. And look, both coaches are going to say that was last year. It was an isolated incident. It's nothing. We've moved forward. Nobody, blah, blah, blah. It's just add a little something to the fire of this thing. Absolutely.
And when you have two dynamic personalities as head coaches, again, it's one thing to just be really successful. And again, Gino at UConn's been successful for a long time, and he's got his quirks. But man, Dawn Staley and Kim Mulkey are another level of coaching personality, in addition to being really, really good with the X's and O's and having talented rosters, that you just want to see those two yell and scream at each other over the course of the game and work the refs and all those kind of things. And what kind of outlandish outfit Kim Mulkey's going to wear, what Eagles jersey is Dawn Staley going to be wearing on the sidelines tonight. Like, there's so much built into this game outside of just really, really good basketball.
And again, 4:30 pregame right here on 107.5, the game in Columbia, 5 o'clock tip, South Carolina and LSU. All right, but the big story today that just wiped out the women's game is Shane Beamer buying?
I think
tonight?
So.
He should be.
If you see Coach Beamer at the game, Be like, yo, can I get a hot dog, maybe a drink at the concession stand?
Can you hook me up, Coach?
You seem to be doing pretty well there, Coach. I would ask Staley, but she's busy right now.
Yeah, exactly.
She just got her extension.
So Shane Beamer getting a nice contract extension starting at $8.1 million in 2025. The contract retroactive to the first day of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Shane's going $8.1 million, and it will go up $100,000 per season as it moves along in the extension of the deal, which is 2030, right?
Yes, 2030.
So, Shane now is tied with Brett Venables ninth in the SEC?
Ninth in the SEC.
And top 20 in the country.
I think he technically might be right behind him by like $2,000, but still effectively the same thing, and right there about 15th nationally in terms of all the countries, all the coaches around the country. But again, still on the lower end when it comes to the SEC, and a program that still has plenty to prove and plenty of ways to climb before they get into the realm of the Georgias and the Alabamas and the Texas and stuff like that. But another successful season where Coach Beamer and company exceeded expectations, which has kind of been the norm for them for 3 out of the 4 years that he's been here. Did it once again, almost got to that coveted 10th win, and again, just making sure he's not planning on going anywhere anytime soon. Well,
the couple things that always hit me on first of all, good for Shane. I mean,
oh, sure.
Happy for him. Good for you, man. You started near the bottom of the SEC when you first came in salary. Then you clicked up a few notches, but you were still in the lower fourth or lower third.
Which makes sense. He had no prior head coaching experience. Again, and you were slowly coming out of the gate. So no one said, he needs to be making Kirby Smart or Nick Saban money. Like, no, you got to work your way there.
And right now you're sitting in the top 20 in the country, which is great. Of course, that puts you ninth in the SEC like usual.
Sure.
You look at yourself in two buckets. A, how do you compare in your conference? And then go, but I'm doing pretty good nationally. All right.
Mark Stoops is still making more than me. What's that about?
Mark Stoops giggles twice a month.
I think Mark Stoops giggles at the fact that there's so much attention paid to basketball. It's like, they cut me another check?
No, it's so nice.
A payroll's not paying attention, are they?
This is so good. I can't believe it. It's like hitting the lottery every 2 weeks.
It's great.
If you look at the guys being paid more than Beamer in front of him, besides Stoops, you go, okay. DeBoer played for a national championship. Kirby's Kirby. Sarkisian's been to the college football playoff 2 years in a row. Like, you sit and you watch, Brian Kelly has been multiple times to either the BCS or college football playoffs. So you go, I see why these guys are getting paid more than Shane.
Sure.
Stoops will say, I got 2 double-digit win seasons, bub.
Congratulations.
Like, good for you. And it all makes sense. And the two things that I'm curious about, because what we've seen so far is just and maybe you saw this, I didn't yet, there's two things. Kenny Dillingham, when he got his new deal at Arizona State, put two things in the contract I thought were interesting. Mm-hmm. One, the guarantee of the allotment of salary for his assistant coaches.
Yep.
Which is so vitally important.
Sure.
And when we talk about these deals, that's one of the things we don't talk enough about is the allotment of money pulled aside to pay assistants. Because the last thing you want to do is continually lose quality assistants and coordinators because they go make more money somewhere else with the same job.
Right.
It's one thing, Dow Loggins leaves to be a head coach. Awesome, man.
Sure.
What would suck if Dow Loggins left to go be an offensive coordinator somewhere else because they were going to pay him more than you could.
And they were using your job as a stepping stone, essentially.
Because you can't pay them.
Yes.
So the pool of money for assistant coaches, I wonder if Shane put any language of that in the contract.
No specifics on that. And again, most of his assistants did just get their own extensions and own raises a couple months ago, whenever it was. So maybe there wasn't a need for that.
But you want that pool moving forward in writing, saying, I want X amount of money guaranteed. I don't want attaboys. I don't want fist bumps. I don't want, come on, Shane, that thing they do.
Right.
A little click, click.
Right.
Hey, buddy, we got you. I want it in writing. And the other thing Dillingham did that was very interesting, in the contract, he had Arizona State sign that they will go to the $22 million cap.
Make sure he's got as many resources as possible that the school can provide so he can be successful. And I imagine that's going to be a common thing as more of these contracts get redone or new contracts get made with these coaches around the country, especially at a program where, because here's the thing, there are certain programs that probably know they can't do that, they can't accomplish that. Arizona State is one of those ones where people think they might be on the fence, but it's like, no. And again, they just made the playoff and nearly beat Texas to advance to the semifinals. It's like, I want commitment. If I'm going to be here, again, this first head coaching gig, I want to know you're going to give me everything I can to succeed. Big 12 is a very winnable conference, and they could become the top dog of it and own that thing and be regular visitors of the college ball playoff. But when they get there, they want to know they have the horses to compete.
Well, that's what it is. You want the resources. You want to know that your school is going to be in on this $22 million thing. And you're right, some schools just can't do it. But for an example, SEC. Yeah, a lot of money in the SEC.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of money in a lot of these schools in the SEC. And again, I just wonder if Shane has any type of guarantee in his deal that locks South Carolina in either going to the 22 million threshold or they are not going to drop below this much in regard to the paying of the athletes on that 22 million.
Sure.
So I think that's something, man. If I look, Shane and his business. If I'm a head coach today negotiating a contract, you bleep and know I'm negotiating that.
Yeah.
Because I need you to spend to keep up with all these other schools who are going to spend because we can't lose players. This is an order. Because if I'm losing, who gets fired?
Yeah, me. Exactly. And with revenue sharing and what we expect it to be, imagine most of these numbers are going to be public, so you're going to know which schools can compete and which ones can't. So you're going to be able to look and say, well, sorry, Arkansas, they're only getting up to 14 million. Good luck beating Alabama.
Right, and that's the thing. Some of these schools would want to give out that information, and I think all this should be transparent because transparency gives you the truth of what is actually going on.
It's essentially a pro sport now.
Yeah,
pro
so
sports
let's
are
be transparent
with contracts, with caps and all those kind of things, dead money. Like college sports should be the same if we're going to go this route.
I think the players' NIL deals should be public and not, to protect the players.
Yeah, that way you know what the market is.
And plus, this Jaden Rashada nonsense doesn't go on if all this is transparent.
I was going to say, we have these estimations of, we think a quarterback commands this in the market. You don't know because it's by word of mouth. It's hearsay, those kind of things. Say, well, who says he's an $8 million quarterback? Who says he's a $5 million quarterback? We're talking about the Jeremiah Smith numbers earlier today, somewhere between $3 and $5 million. Okay, what's the market? I mean, he should probably be the highest paid one, but what's that in reference to compared to the second or third guy? We don't know.
Nobody does. And I know one of the reasons why the schools don't want to give it out is just what you said. They don't want their player come and go, wait a minute, that cat at that school is making that much, my numbers are better. Because that in pro sports is how you set the market.
Called negotiating.
Yes. And in pro sports, if a certain quarterback is making this and your agent looks at it and says, oh, my guy's better than him.
Yep.
We want more money than that guy. That's why schools don't want to make it transparent. But for players, I know that players will be nervous about, well, people know what I'm getting and, my kickback if I drop a pass or whatever. But what protects you is the transparency where they can't offer you something and bring you to campus and then pull the rug out from under you.
Right.
Halftime show. David Dare still has his coat on. You can stay a while, Dave, if you want. Dave's here.
It's
Tyler.
the voodoo that turned the temperature down.
Terry Ford, we're all hanging here. We're going to get you ready for the big LSU South Carolina game in the next segment. It's a halftime show on the game. Time to talk some women's hoops here on the halftime show. Got a top 5 collision at CLA today. 4:30 pregame, 5 o'clock tip here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia. LSU, South Carolina. It's interesting. If you look at the two teams, Tyler, you feel like LSU, if you look at the numbers, has been a bit more consistently explosive on offense than South Carolina.
Sure.
South Carolina's been the better defensive team. LSU is a really good rebounding team, as is South Carolina. LSU turns it over a little bit more than South Carolina. It's just a turnover ratio. I should say South Carolina's better. It's one of those where both teams, if you just look at stats, you see why they are where they are.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
LSU, though, is a bit top-heavy when it comes to they go about 6 deep.
Yep.
South Carolina goes 60 deep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a little bit different. And that might be where this game, the difference in this game before it's all said and done, because you're bringing Fulwiley, Johnson, and Edwards off the pine. LSU can't compare to that off the bench.
And let's look at all the games Carolina's played against high-quality opponents this year, just going back to playing Texas the other week, where we're saying, oh, Madison Booker and this Texas team, they're so good on offense, they can do this, they can do that, and Carolina held them in check for the entire game. So my benefit of the doubt is going to go to South Carolina's defense for being able to hold LSU down. And when you look at the quality of opponents they played 2 ranked teams so far this year. They beat NC State, they beat Tennessee. And again, those are certainly good teams. So they're not quite as battle-tested as Carolina is. So I think some of those numbers because they're third in the nation in scoring at 90.6 points per game, I think that's skewed a little bit just because they haven't played the same level of competition. And again, you also can't go without stating Carolina's without Camila Cardoso, but LSU's also without Angel Reese, who is a special generational type of talent. For them the past couple seasons, and they've obviously been doing very well without her. But she's definitely a presence that is felt and missed out there in Baton Rouge that could become a major factor tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking at the line. Is this right? 18? That can't be
18?
right.
My goodness.
Can't be right.
Hold on, let me see what ESPN says.
It says here on DraftKings as of Friday at 9:50 a.m. South Carolina's favored by 16.5, and the over/under is 150.5.
Let's see.
16.5. That's a number. If that's right.
That's generous. Let's see.
It says right here. It says that's what DraftKings has. Double check that baby real quick. 16.5. Woo. Now, again, South Carolina hasn't lost at home in a bazillion years, but that's a number if that's true. If you look at LSU, again, they've got talent. Their best player, Johnson, averaging 20 points a game, 6 boards, dishes out 3 assists. Nishimuro, he's a double-double, 18, almost 19 and 14.
FanDuel has it at 14.5.
Okay, there you go.
So the Vegas books are very heavy towards South Carolina, which again, based on what we've seen this year, that kind of falls in line with how they've handled these kind of teams.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point that South Carolina is so much more battle-tested in who they've played.
Yeah.
In their non-conference. And I think that brings something to the table as well. And some of these numbers are skewed because LSU, they played a faster pace. They're going to score more points or give up more points. So you got to go a little deeper dive to really figure out how efficient LSU would be because of the pace they play.
The way they score is also very similar to Texas from a couple weeks ago, where they score a lot of points, but they are 14th in the SEC in 3 points made and 15th in 3 points attempted. Right there,
they don't shoot threes, man.
Around where Texas is. And I actually asked this question to Chris Wellbaum about an hour ago on the Gamecock Central Hour, and I said, is the game plan going to be kind of the same for what you had to do with Texas? And I believe he said that Texas tends to move the ball around a little bit more, so maybe not quite the same approach. But again, if you can lock down the paint and force them into uncomfortable shots, if you can force them to try and shoot from the outside where they're not good at that, then they should fall right in the wheelhouse of what the South Carolina defense is trying to do.
Yeah, the assist-to-turnover ratio, they're more of an ISO type of team, LSU. They're not moving the ball and moving players and doing all that stuff. It's more of a one-on-one type of, I beat you sort of offense.
Yeah.
Again, they have 3 players who score over 15 a game. You have 4 players in double digits, 2 other players who score 6. They're not very deep. They play roughly 6 players get over 15 minutes. So this is not a team that will go deep on a bench like South Carolina can.
Yep.
And South Carolina can go 9 deep with no problem. 10 at times. And they're missing Ashlyn Watkins. Think how much deeper they are if you have Ashlyn Watkins.
Sure.
So there are some differences in these teams. And one is, I think, quality of opponent through the season. Two is depth. And we'll see how that plays out as this game goes along. And LSU averages, they give up 14.5 turnovers a game. Mm-hmm. So they can have some issues. South Carolina has had their problems.
They've had their problems.
But they're only at 12.
Yeah, they are. And again, the last game that we saw them in, they cleaned that up pretty effectively, for their route of, who's the last team they played?
Oklahoma,
yeah, the route of Oklahoma. So, again, we've seen them just play a high level of basketball. And, again, there's plenty of things about LSU that say, that gives you concern and gives you pause. But Carolina's handled their business up to this point. I think a lot of people looked at Texas as the toughest challenge they had in the conference slate, handled them pretty easily, and no reason to think they can't do that against LSU tonight.
I mean, I feel like they should beat LSU. I mean, if LSU won, I wouldn't be shocked, obviously. They've got players. They're a good team. But I feel like South Carolina handles their business.
I do, too.
All right, let's grab a call real quick. 803-404-6100. Love Chevy phone line. Let's get to Drew, who's been waiting patiently. Drew, we appreciate you. You're on the halftime show in the game. What's up, my man?
Guys, I've been drinking all day here at the Thirsty Fella. I am ready for that Bayou Bimbo. Guys, that line is dead on. This won't even be close. You know what, Kim Mulkey? I know you're not listening, but you're getting on some stupid outfit. But you know the last time you beaten us, well, not you, but LSU, January 12th, 2012. It's not a rivalry, like Preston Thorne said. And Rick Ware says, to be the best, you got to beat the best. This is going to be another beatdown. We'll have what now? After tonight, we'll have, 7 wins against top 25 teams, right? Or
Yep.
That's correct.
Yep.
Exactly. So, Kim Mulkey, put on the makeup, grab some diapers, grab a pacifier, go get time!
Oh, man.
Drew, appreciate you, man.
He is ready.
I think Drew is well lubricated, ready to roll.
4.5 hours until tip-off, and he is ready.
Drew is set to rock.
Don't tell me it won't be a rowdy crowd for a 5 o'clock tip, because Drew is ready.
And by the way, you know who leads the nation in attendance? It'll be 21,000 folks. Might not be as lubricated as Drew, but 21,000 folks will be there.
Give a little time.
That's a great call.
I respect it. I respect it.
And again, there's a reason South Carolina is favored by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
There it is. All right. Drew is great. All right.
That's call of the day.
Yes. Just in case you woke up and wondered what's going on in the sports world, we'll tell you. The South Carolina football coach got a new contract, and we'll hit some other headlines. There is a new football coach with the Raiders. Very interesting hire. And a new football coach in Jacksonville that didn't want to be the football coach in Jacksonville, but now's a football coach in Jacksonville. So we got some stuff to get to. We'll get to you on the Love Chevy phone line as well. Hang out 803-404-6100. Halftime show. David Dare punching the buttons. Tyler Head, Terry Ford. We're going till 3 on the game. righty, just in case you woke up and you're like, what's going on in the world of sports, man? Well, the number one thing in our little burg, Shane Beamer got a new contract. It has been approved. Starting January 1st of this year, Shane in 2025, $8.1 million, or $1.5 million, you want to get exact. And then it goes up $100,000 every year. So 26, 8.25, 27, 8.35, and it will cap out. And it'll probably be, if the team is successful, this contract will get redone again before 2030.
Yeah, it's those things are, give it a year or two, and especially if they keep winning at this rate, it'll be redone.
So Shane, if he went through the life of the deal, in 2030 would make $8.6 million. The buyout situation this year is $5 million, and it goes down a million every year.
Yep.
So $5 million this year on the buyout, and then it goes down $4 million, $3 million, $2 million, $1. So that's what's going on. Shane Beamer gets a new deal. You know what comes with this also? Think about it for a minute. Okay, now you got a new deal. You're one of the top 20 paid coaches in America. You're in the top half of the SEC now, or right around there in the SEC pecking order and how you're paid. You're also, a lot of these way too early top 25 polls, you're in all of them.
Yep.
And in some of them, you're in the top 10.
Which I think is generous, given what you've lost.
But guess what now comes with all this?
Expectations.
The door gets knocked on at the Beamer household. You open the door, guess who it is? Expectations.
That's right.
And by the way, Expectations is a big fella now.
It is.
Expectations is like the dude on steroids at the gym.
Yeah. Well, again, the more you accomplish, the more that's going to be expected of you. And, winning 7 games and the Duke's Mayo Bowl in year number 1, that's great. All right. How do you improve on that? Okay. Go out there and beat 2 college football playoff teams and knock them out of contention the year after that. Cool. Step back in year number 3, year number 4. You go on a 6-game winning streak, take down a bunch of ranked opponents, barely missed the college football playoff. All right. We're going up and up and up. Now what's next?
Right. Because guess what? All this stuff going on, it's to continue going up.
Yes.
And of course, look, Shane Beamer, this is what he wants. He wants expectation, because expectation means we expect things from you. That's important, because expectations means you're looked at as a good program that could get even better, and you're trending upward. And all these, there are a lot of coaches who hate expectation. We like to sneak in. We like to be the underdog. No one loves us. Everybody disrespects us. Blah. I'm so sick of it. I can't stand that mess. In today's world, I have so much more respect for the coach that says, you know what, we're really good. Come get us.
Yeah.
It's so refreshing now, because everybody plays the disrespect card and the underdog card, and no one loves us card. No one believed in us card. I mean, like Kirby, picked us win 5 games. Stop talking. I mean, so I want to see people embrace expectation.
Sure.
Say, you know what? Yeah, we think we're bad. Come on and fight. Come on, bring it.
Yeah.
Come on and bring it. And that's where it's going in South Carolina.
I go back to my SEC Media Days index. You're going to be talked a lot about this week. And whether you're speaking on Monday or Friday, you're going to be coming up in conversation all week long of, hey, man, we didn't see Carolina coming last year. They were on the verge of being potentially a playoff team. What are they going to do in year number 5?
Mm-hmm. And, we talk about this also, the way this team is being picked right now in the way too early top 25 polls. This team is expected to either be a college football playoff team or be in contention right to the end to be a college football playoff team.
You're expected to be one of those teams. If you're not solidly in, to be one of those, let's see what the graphic looks like and if they're in or not, right there on the cusp.
I just wonder real quick, then we're going to grab a call, 803-446-100, the Love Chevy phone line about this. When did this start getting done?
It's a good question.
Was this done when Ray was still the AD, or were they putting it together, and did Donati just finish the deal and get it done? How much of this was being done before the new AD showed up?
Yeah, and especially coming off the heels of Dawn just getting her money right out a week ago now. It does make you wonder, okay, and how long do these things take to put together? Because, again, money's got to come from somewhere. They just say, hey, let's suddenly pay Coach Beamer another $100,000 each and every year and get him up to, 8.5 here in a couple of years. Like, you gotta crunch the numbers some kind of way. So that is an interesting question.
And here's my other question, because really, look, Shane deserved, obviously, if you look at the rest of the way the pecking order is in college football coaches' salaries, obviously Shane deserved a bump.
Yeah.
I get it. Been around 4 years, made 3 bowl games. And in the 1 year when things were off the rails, all the injuries and the things that went on, you still were 5-7, and you were a win away from beating Clemson.
You were in the last game playing for an opportunity to get to a bowl.
I'm not sitting here saying, well, you shouldn't have given him more dough. But what was the push for the more dough? Was it just, we want to fairly compensate you for what you've done? so far here at South Carolina? Was there the agent going, I'm getting some calls from some other schools, man. I'm not getting much sleep at night.
Yeah.
What was the impetus for the push to get the extension done? Because if you're just negotiating with yourself, are you just doing that because you think you want to keep him happy and get ahead of the game by giving the extension? But are you not negotiating against yourself? That's just something no one ever heard about. That's all I was just wondering.
Yeah, and look, we know in today's world of college football, no coach is unpoachable. To where if, hey, there's a blue blood program that's looking for a coach in the next couple of years, why wouldn't Beamer's name come up in those conversations? So making sure it's like, hey, which Beamer loves it here. He's not, doesn't seem like he's the kind of guy that's using this to get somewhere else. Even if the Virginia Tech job came open, I think Beamer would be inclined to want to stay here. But, you can never be too safe, and making sure you have him locked up and happy and, able to afford what he needs in life is certainly fine.
Is it just, so to that point, is it just the preemptive, let's extend you to show you how much we love and appreciate you? You want to be here. That's the other one, too, really quick. That's kind of a thin line to walk when you are, as the head coach, talking about this is your dream job. You've always wanted to be here. You love it here. Oh, Shane Beamer's rumored to take the job at fill in the blank. Wait a minute. Thought you loved it here.
Sure.
Thought you wanted to raise your kids here. Thought this was your dream job. So, I mean, so you know what I'm saying to you? That's because, look, coaches, agents play this game.
Oh, of course.
Agents are the ones that play the game.
Agents are in there to make money, and that's how they make money.
And that's what they do. So, again, they do it for all over the place. So, but that's the thing with Shane and his agent. I guess if I was Shane, I'd look at my agent and say, dude, I understand what you do, and that's why I hired you, but understand I have stated publicly my love for this job, and it's my dream job, and I love it here. So understand, when you're playing your agent game, always keep that in your head, okay? Good talking to you, Jerry Maguire.
At the end of the day, it is ultimately up to what the coach wants to do.
Exactly.
So
this one's kind of, again, I get it, and that's the way this business works, but also you've got that piece in there as well. So anyway.
For sure.
All right, 803-404-6100. Let's get Keith in here. Keith, thanks for holding on, my friend. You're on the halftime show. What's happening?
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Appreciate you calling.
Just a comment. I mean, Beamer's done a great job, just like Dabo. And what we're up against, the $20 million, and this is where I just see a struggle, getting in that top tier. You take that $20 million, that's a lot of money to most universities across the country. But the reality is the Blue Bloods and the oil money, there's 20 universities that just have unlimited funds. And it's crazy when we're seeing college players. If we go by what's reported, like the quarterback going to Miami, there are people on NFL rosters not making that kind of money. So eventually, this has got to be corrected. It's got to have a model like the NFL, or this is just going to be the shootout at the OK Corral. And that's just so unfortunate. So I'd be interested on your thoughts. I'm not questioning whether they need money, deserve money. I'm just saying, we're in a state of 4.5 million people, and we don't have but one billionaire here, I think, and he owns the team down in Texas. So it's just a disadvantage. It brings us right back to the 70s. So enjoy the show. Would be interested. Maybe I'm looking at it in the wrong way, but appreciate y'all taking my call, and have a great evening.
Appreciate you listening. The good words on the show, Keith. Thanks for calling us as well, my man. Keith's not wrong with the idea. Okay, well, it depends on your perspective. Let's go there first. Okay, your perspective from being South Carolina is, man, it would be nice to have some guardrails, some type of cap issue on how you do it, some kind of collective bargaining to where you have rules and regulations. This isn't the Wild Wild West.
Yep.
From schools like South Carolina that are in the power leagues, and there are a lot of schools in the level of South Carolina when it comes to money in the state, resources, whatever, when it comes to, generating revenue to be able to handle your business.
Sure.
You'd love to have a cap where everybody's on a level playing field. Okay, let's flip that around. And you think Texas wants a cap?
No,
No.
because they know they can exceed that cap.
Exactly.
They're mad it's 20 right now.
Ready? Just 22?
We can do 50.
Hell, we can pay every player 22. We're Texas. Get everybody a steer and a Lamborghini. That's the thing. We'll get more into this during the show because Keith brings up an excellent point that we want to delve into. Also, we have some more news to get to as well. In the NFL, a couple of gigs are taken in the NFL. Jacksonville and Vegas have head coaches. We'll get into that. Firehouse sub text the hour 803-404-6100 coming up as well. It's a halftime show. Tyler Head here. He's here. David Dare's here. Terry Ford. We're going till 3 on the game. I'm going to get to our Firehouse sub text the hour here in just a minute, 803-404-6100. If you haven't heard, Shane Beamer, new contract, runs till 30-30, $8.15 million. exactly?
Yeah, right around there to start with, and escalators of 100,000 every year. The way it's currently structured, and again, it could get amended between now and then, but for now, he will make up to 8.6 by 2030.
Right. New contract dropped today. Also, new head coaches in the NFL in Jacksonville and Vegas. We'll get to that here in a little bit. Of course, the big top 5 matchup at CLA, 4:30 this afternoon. Pre-game right here on 107.5, the game with our buddy Brad Muller and Ed Bird at the controls. South Carolina women's basketball, the Gamecocks take on LSU, undefeated LSU. Dave Adair, let's run that cut that I talked about having you run, and then I stepped all over you so you couldn't run it. Let's go to the cut. Dawn Staley talking about the importance of this game with LSU.
It's a rivalry. It's a game that we must win, obviously, because we only play them once, and you want the tiebreaker advantage. But still, just a game. Win or lose, you still every goal that you have is still in front of you. It makes it a little bit harder, especially when it comes to our conference. So glad it's at home.
Yeah, I mean, you're glad you got it in your barn. And, yeah, I mean, look, Dawn said this right then. And we know it. If you follow college basketball, men or women,
Sure.
you know losing a game in January like this is not some death sentence. It's just like a win or lose, you move on to the next game. If South Carolina wins, okay, great. Who's next on the schedule?
Yeah, Tennessee.
If South Carolina loses, who's next on the schedule?
Yeah.
It's not like this game is some make or break basketball contest in the course of the season. You just get to see where you at compared to another heavyweight team.
Now, could this ultimately decide who wins the SEC regular season? Sure. But obviously you have the opportunity in the tournament to win that. And then again, it's not going to affect your ability to be a number 1 seed or any of those kind of things. So there's not no stakes here. But it's not, oh, God, if they don't win this game, then the season's off the rails. Like, we know what's up. But again, still a big matchup, 2 high-level teams, and another opportunity for South Carolina to hopefully continue this trend of just putting really good teams in a full Nelson and throwing them to the side.
Yeah, and really, and you heard when Dawn said, it's not a make-or-break game. Coaches today, if you listen to Coach speak from all areas of sports, pro, college, pick a sport, you always hear this. If we look at these games, we prepare to play, we worry about ourselves. We want to be the best version of us. If we play our best version of what we can do, we bring our A game, we're going to be very difficult to beat every day.
Yep.
So we concentrate on what do we do to maximize playing our best every day. You always hear that first. Now, again, are you scouting an opponent? Sure. Are you looking for strengths and weaknesses? Absolutely. Are you looking to attack the weaknesses? I hope so. But what all these coaches say today, first and foremost, is we want to worry about us playing the best we can, and that usually will take care of everything. And that's the same thing today. If South Carolina plays their A game, they walk off the court winners.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
If they can avoid turning the ball over a lot, which, again, we've seen that kind of come and go, and, they don't get off to an atrociously bad start, which we've also seen at times this year, I think they should be fine. And, again, we were gawking at the line on, some of the Vegas sites earlier on, but, again, it's kind of falls in line with what they've already been doing against ranked teams.
They have been skull-kicking ranked teams. Ever since that UCLA loss, what they have been doing to ranked teams is almost like a felony in 22 states.
Yeah.
Texas walked off the court, looked like a bunch of zombies after what happened to them.
Texas walked off the court with ice packs and bandages because they just got abused for 40 minutes.
It was crazy. And so South Carolina, LSU, again, 4:30 pregame with our buddy Brad Muller right here on 107.5, the game in Columbia, 5 o'clock tip. Our pal Ed Bird will be, like always, the executive producer of Gamecock basketball here on 107.5, the game. All right, our Firehouse Sub text the hour, 803-404-6100. What you got, man?
In reference to the Beamer contract, nameless texter weighs in and says his payments per win better average under $1 million. So you better be winning more than 8 games if you're getting paid $8 million.
That is good. Probably broke out the calculator on the phone to do that one. But no, that was really good, texter. Excellent.
Ideally, you'd like to be able to say he's making $500,000 per win because that means you went undefeated and won the national championship.
There you go. Look at you. Look at you go over there with your fancy math. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, that's the thing. Expectations are here. Whether it's nationally in these way too early top 25 polls, whether it's the new contract, whether it's coming off of 9 wins, whatever it is, the expectation level here is even greater coming into 2025 than it was coming out of the Gator Bowl year.
Oh, 1,000%.
It's not even close. And there was a lot of expectation coming out of the Gator Bowl year. But this is, you were that close to being in the college football playoff.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people looked at the Gator Bowl year like, well, you were about to go 6-6, and you caught fire in 2 games and beat 2 highly ranked teams, which is great, and there's still plenty of hype about that. Mm-hmm. You saw sustained success over the course of those last 6 weeks, and nearly beating the Alabamas, nearly beating the LSUs early on in the season. That was by far the best year that Coach Beamer has had so far.
Yeah, and so now the expectations ratcheted higher than ever in the Shane Beamer era. By the way, who's the SEC Coach of the Year?
Shane Beamer.
Yeah, there you go. Which football in the 1 o'clock hour is sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We'll talk about new head coaches in the NFL. That's coming up here on the halftime show. David Ayer, Tyler Head, Terry Ford on the game. Halftime show, football, and more football in the 1 o'clock hour. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the game. Terry Ford, Tyler Head. We were rolling up until 3. Of course, our big football story, Shane Beamer's new contract. Contract extension goes to 2030. Starts at $8.1 million roughly, and will go up $100,000 every year to 2030 when it becomes $8.6 million. And our texter said better be averaging. What was that again? The texter said
better be averaging less than $1 million per win.
Right.
Because again, if you're averaging $1 million per win, that's 8 wins. So got to do better than that.
And that's the point of expectation.
Oh
now.
Yeah, totally. It's like we're not going to say, wow, look at that, Beamer making $2 million per win.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Woohoo, Mayo Bowl, baby.
Yeah.
No, that's
nothing like that.
That ship sailed.
You honestly, with what you're making, with how you finished this past year, Mayo Bowl would be a major disappointment to everybody.
Well,
next year.
you bring up a good point, and you brought this up yesterday too about are they overranked in these way too early top 25s? Because look, you lost players on all 3 levels of your defense.
All guys that are going to get drafted,
players.
not just running out of eligibility.
You are bringing back Dylan Stewart, but you got a lot of question marks on defense.
Yep.
Offensively, you're replacing the interior of your offensive line. You're replacing your starting running back. And you're replacing his top 2 receiving threats.
Yep.
And right now, yes, you brought in a running back you hope can be productive, has been productive in the past. You brought in a bunch of offensive linemen who are veterans. You also have a lot of young offensive linemen you hope are going to step up. The wide receiver room, some guys are getting better during the season, but you don't really have a guy you can point at and say he's going to be something else. Defensively, I go back. You have Dylan Stewart, obviously. You have Jalen Kilgore in the back end. You have DQ Smith. You have some other very young, interesting DBs. You brought in some corners in the portal that you are really happy in getting.
Yeah.
To your point, you're replacing a lot of guys.
You are. And look, linebacker and interior defensive line, 2 of your strengths this past year, is mainly unproven guys.
Yeah. I mean, the guys you brought in the portal at both positions are high ceiling, low resume guys.
Yeah. We don't know.
We don't know.
We're going to have to wait and see.
And again, there's more portal action that's going to come up later, but right now that's where this team is at.
Yeah. And again, I think it's great that people are viewing this team so highly. And when it comes to South Carolina, the offseason thoughts are very reactionary. Typically like, hey, what'd you do last year? Okay, we're going to be probably right around there with expectations for this next year. But again, when you kind of really break it down, and I get it, everybody loses players, transfer portal and all that kind of stuff, but I do have a lot of questions and concerns about Carolina in this offseason for replacing the level of talent, specifically on defense, that they had.
And I think part of this ranking is the love of Lenore Sellers nationally. I think they look at him like you saw how he played the last part of the season. You see this skill and ability, not only running with it, but throwing it. He's a big dude who can motor. He's got a good arm. You see all these positives and seeing how he's progressing and developing. And the thought is this guy's going to be even more dangerous next year.
Sure.
And you start with that.
You also have to be able to stop people, too. You can have the great Jaden Daniels win a Heisman Trophy, but when your defense gives up 55 points a game, you can only go so far.
And you need more than just Dylan Stewart coming off the edge.
Yeah.
Is that great to have? Absolutely.
Sure.
But you need more than that.
And again, maybe there's somebody in that room that is going to be the next Kyle Kennard. We don't know. And again, we didn't know what Kyle Kennard was going to be. We were like, hey, solid numbers at Georgia Tech. That's fine. Nobody foresaw the season he had coming, so that can apply to anybody via the transfer portal, via the freshman class, via guys that maybe weren't playing a whole lot, like J.R. Johnson. He could go out there and be better than Demetrius Knight and Debo Williams at linebacker. Like, wow, that guy really stepped up when his number was finally called, but we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's some youngins in the program that might develop and go pop. And, I mean, Jalen Brown from Missouri might come in. A guy who was a 4-star, didn't play a ton at Mizzou.
Brandon Cisse could be the lockdown corner in all of college football next year.
We don't know.
We don't know.
But that's the thing is, like, your point is there's a lot of we don't knows at this juncture. So we'll see. But Shane gets a new contract. Obviously, that's our big story in football in the 1 o'clock hour. All right, 2 NFL head coaching vacancies have been filled. They're both interesting in their own right.
Yeah.
All right, we'll start with the Raiders. They have a new GM. They brought in the assistant GM from, I think John Spytek, I think is his name, the assistant GM in Tampa. Jason Light, obviously very successful with the Bucs. And the biggest thing that Jason Light did to change everything was bring in some dude named Brady. But now the Buccaneers are a perennial playoff team. They've been the best team in the NFC South for the last 5 years now.
Yep.
So you bring in their assistant GM, John Spytek, to be the general manager in Vegas. So Lloyd Christmas, the owner, and Spytek will go to get looking for a head coach. And today they hire Pete Carroll. And Pete Carroll was dying to get back into the head coaching office for somebody.
It was right at a year ago when he wasn't fired. They didn't part ways with him. They moved him into a advisory role within the organization, which is like, we love you, we don't want you coaching anymore. And then they hired Mike McDonald, McDonald, and you could see in like the presser that Coach Carroll had that it was bothering him.
Oh, sure.
Because he's like, I don't want to stop coaching. Why should I? So you knew his name was going to be coming up in these cycles. Floated around there for some of these other jobs, but now they're doing the deal there in Vegas.
Here's what's interesting about this job. All right, this thing is a joke. That franchise is a joke.
Yeah.
Let's just call it what it is.
It has been for a while.
It's a punchline.
Since Junior took over.
Yeah, I mean, Junior, God love him. Put it this way. He wouldn't be involved in the executive level in any NFL team if he wasn't lucky genetics. I'm going to say it in a nice way.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll is a winner.
Everywhere.
He knows how to set culture. He knows what winning is like. He understands leadership. His enthusiasm for the game of football and life is infectious.
Oh, he's 73 years old, and there are 25-year-olds with less energy than him.
Killed to have his energy.
By the way, he goes for like 3 packs of gum per game.
He's nuts, but he's nuts in a good way. So on the basis of that, it's a good hire because you bring in somebody that can go, hey, by the way, I want to show you a couple things. What? That's my Super Bowl ring when I won the Super Bowl in Seattle. That's my national championship rings from Southern Cal. Basically, I'm a winner.
Yeah.
When I come here, you know who's going to be walking with me? Winning, because that's who hangs with me. I'm a winner. Vegas needed someone who knows what they're doing when it comes to winning. So that box, you made a good hire. Here's my thing with Pete Carroll, though. When Malcolm Butler picks off that pass, when you should have turned around and handed the ball off to Marshawn Lynch, and the Seattle Seahawks gacked away a Super Bowl championship. Since then, yes, Pete Carroll been to the playoffs 6 times. But the franchise wasn't the same.
Yeah, that was kind of the breaking point in a lot of ways, and things unraveled from there. And then you had the locker room, versus Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch leaving, and the Legion of Boom disbanding, and all these kind of things. It definitely started falling off from there. Though they still made the playoffs a couple times after that, they just were never the same Seattle after that game.
I mean, they were a playoff team. They were a team with a winning record. They were a good team, but they just weren't the same team. I remember reading a deep dive about the whole thing where defensively, because look, to be honest, that defense, Seattle rode that defense to win a Super Bowl. Russell Wilson was basically, look, bro, we want you to play smart. Don't do dumb stuff. Don't give the ball to the other team. We're going to need you to make a few plays during the game.
Yep.
But basically the defense and that kooky dude eating the Skittles behind you, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
The more, though, that franchise wanted to make Russell Wilson the franchise quarterback. They wanted to put him on the level of the other A1 quarterbacks in the game. The defense didn't understand it. They didn't like it. I think there was a pushback because I think they didn't like Russell Wilson. I truly think Russell Wilson's the kind of guy, it feels like the more you're around him, the less you like him.
Well, he's been on 3 different teams, and all 3 of the locker rooms seem to very much dislike him.
There is something about Russell Wilson that makes people not like him. Maybe it's a natural ability that I think he comes off as a phony.
He's inauthentic.
He's a phony.
Is what he is.
I think
He's
that's what
very, very fake in a lot of ways. And yeah, from the stories I've read and the accounts that some of the players have talked about, he seems very phony.
And when you're not real and authentic in the ultimate leadership role in the NFL, which is quarterback, that causes issues. If people don't believe they can trust you or believe what you're saying, and you're genuinely in it for the best of the team, that causes problems.
Nobody wanted to go to his office hours when he was in Denver.
He had his own office. Really? That's leader right there. Hey, Ross, let me talk to you. Set an appointment with my secretary. I'll
yeah.
see you in my office on the 3rd floor.
I'm available between 2:30 and 3 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. Come by and see me then.
Unreal. So that was an issue. So all of that, the team, and there was never the locker room never fractured, like to the point of, oh my God, this thing's all. But there was an uneasiness in Seattle after that. And Pete Carroll still navigated it and still kept everything together, and they were still a playoff team. But I think they won over 10 games one more time, and no one ever really talked about them as a true Super Bowl contender once that little mini 2-year run ended.
Yep.
So there's a concern of, does Pete still have his fastball? There's the other concern, the game is always changing and evolving. Is Pete changing and evolving with the game? Because that was some of the talk in Seattle was, okay, Pete, there's a lot of things going on in regard to offense and just the game is going in certain directions. Are you down with it?
Yep.
If Pete is down with evolving, to go with the leadership and the culture that he sets, and if that guy in the owner's office can stay out of the way and let Pete cook,
there you go.
the Raiders have a chance to stop being a punchline and be a contender for the playoffs. But I'll say one thing. What division are they in?
They're in the toughest division, which I talked about this earlier, right when the news broke. This is not the job for the hotshot coordinator. This is not a job. And look, people are apprehensive about Ben Johnson going to Chicago. But if Ben Johnson gets hired for this job instead, I'm like, guy with no head coaching experience, great that he calls up kooky plays and throws to the left tackle. That's great. But you're going up against Andy Reid, one of the greatest coaches of all time, Jim Harbaugh, one of the greatest coaches in the NFL currently, and Sean Payton, who also has a Super Bowl as of right now and regarded as one of the best coaches in the league as of right now. Good luck to you. So, yeah, you need somebody that has another ring on their finger to be able to say, okay, I can come in and compete with these guys. Mm-hmm. And it's a 3-year deal with a 4-year option. Look, Pete Carroll's 73 years old. He's going to be 74 by like week 2 of the NFL season. This is not a long-term play, but much like a Bill Belichick at North Carolina, you're bringing him in to set the foundation, set a new culture, and whether it be a coordinator you hand the reins off to in a couple of years or have a head coach in waiting some kind of other way, you're just trying to get your program back on track. Because the Raiders have been dysfunctional for a very long time, and you want to bring in a proven winner, says, okay, let me set the foundation, and then when I'm done in 3, 4, however many years, somebody else can take this over and keep it going.
Yes, basically, yes. But you also have to understand, once you set that foundation, the next person you hire, you got to leave them alone too.
Yes.
This is the start of...
It's a test.
Yes.
For Mark Davis. Can you keep your grubby little fingers off of what Pete Carroll is doing long enough for him to have success? And if you can prove that, then maybe we can keep this going.
Yeah, maybe you can actually have a sustained period of success.
If Pete Carroll just needs to show up with a bunch of PF Chang gift cards, say, it's on me. Yeah. That way he just stays out of the building.
It's true.
And by the way, here's some Great Clips coupons as well.
Although he obviously uses those a ton. All right. The other gig, Liam Cohen is the new head coach in Jacksonville. This is interesting, and we might have to pull this over on the other side.
Did he want to be?
Oh, we have Mike Felder coming up.
Okay. All right.
Liam Cohen, we're going to get to this at some point on the show. Pulled out of the Jacksonville job. Didn't want to be considered anymore. Then Jacksonville fires Trent Baalke, the owner, Shad Khan. Once Baalke's out of the way, now Liam Cohen's a head coach. So one of the things that bothered Liam Cohen was Trent Baalke. I was reading this today that this isn't the first time a possible head coaching candidate did not want to deal with Trent Baalke in Jacksonville. So Shad Khan went, Trent, your resume here is, it's okay. Not great, not wonderful. You're fired. I want to hire Liam. So basically, you picked Liam Cohen over Trent Baalke.
Yeah, after 2 weeks ago, you said, no, we're good with Baalke. He's going to stay around.
Yeah, because it would be suicide. Michael Felder, 130.
Okay, cool.
Not 150.
Yep.
So we're going to finish this conversation with Liam Cohen on the other side. Because it is interesting. All of a sudden, he's the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's my question. Why?
Did he want it?
And why do you want him? Let's get into that next on the halftime show on The Game. We are rolling football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. One other coaching hire today, Liam Cohen. You're like, is that one of the Cohen brothers that make the movies, Terry? No. Liam Cohen. It would be funnier if it was Ethan Cohen, movie maker. So tell me about Raising Arizona. I love The Big Lebowski. By the way, it's one of my one of my 10 favorite movies of all time. Is Big Lebowski.
All-time classic.
Big Lebowski's phenomenal. What John Goodman does to the car out front is one of the best scenes.
I can never, even when he's in a serious role, see Sam Elliott.
I know
any other way,
because he's the guy at the bar with Dude.
And seeing him having fun in a movie is weird.
I know, because typically Sam Elliott was
very
never
serious and stern. That mustache makes you serious.
Yeah, like in Roadhouse.
Yes. No goofing around in Roadhouse.
Isn't that one of those movies? You know how bad it is, but you just have to watch it.
Oh, it's comically funny. I don't know if you watch Family Guy, but there's an entire episode where Peter gets obsessed with Roadhouse and he says, "Well, the movie taught me you can solve all your problems with roundhouse kicks." So he just roundhouse kicks everything.
Roadhouse is so bad it's good.
The fighting in the movie is like all-time hilarious.
And I think it's funny you go for...
wow, did they find the tightest pair of jeans in the world for Patrick Swayze?
Well, the best part is, here's the guy from Dirty Dancing is now the ultimate bouncer.
Yeah, tough guy.
Yeah, I'm like, really? And the guy that made the little clay thing with Demi Moore and Ghost is now the toughest bouncer in the world.
But he's got a tight T-shirt, black T-shirt,
and his pants are one
jeans.
size too small.
Exactly. So that makes him look bigger than he really is.
Anyway, I don't know why you got me down this road. Liam Cohen is the new head coach in Jacksonville. This is interesting because Liam Cohen pulled his name out of consideration 2 days ago. We brought it up coming to the end of the last segment. One of the reasons was he didn't want to work with Trent Baalke, the GM. So Sean Cohen went, that's easy. Tommy, Trent, whatever the hell your name is, you're fired.
Because it was about 24 hours ago when that news broke that the Jaguars, after saying 2 weeks ago, no, we're going to keep him, decide to fire him. Like, well, that's odd.
Remember, it would be suicide to do a whole house cleaning.
Yeah.
That was Shad Khan's word.
Yeah.
Well, he decided to commit suicide.
I guess so.
Professional suicide. So basically, he picks Liam Cohen over Trent Baalke. Now, the word is that's not the only thing, but obviously it was a major enough thing that Shad Khan told Trent Baalke to kick rocks, right?
Yep.
So you decided you wanted Liam Cohen so bad, you fire your GM. Now, I'm not sitting there saying Trent Baalke's a great GM. He's not. Matter of fact, I won't even say he's an okay GM. But when you said, when you got rid of Doug Peterson, that it would be asinine to fire the GM, and then you went and did something asinine and fired the GM, and you hire Liam Cohen. Now, here's my question. Why Liam Cohen? He's only called plays in the NFL 1 year, last year in Tampa.
Yep.
He was an offensive coordinator with the Rams for a year, and that was the year Matthew Stafford got hurt, and they started 50 quarterbacks.
Yep.
They brought back Joe Namath, Roman Gabriel.
Baker Mayfield came in later in that season.
Exactly. I mean, it was a crazy year, and the offense...
Which is a big reason why they got him in Tampa, because, hey, Baker Mayfield's here.
And here's the thing. That Ram offense really struggled, but to be fair, he didn't have Matthew Stafford. So it was not fair to judge Liam Cohen on that year. But then Cohen, after that 1 year, bounced back to Kentucky. Mm-hmm. He was the offensive coordinator / play caller with the Wildcats for 2 seasons. 1 year was better than the other. Then he leaves Kentucky to get the Tampa Bay offensive coordinator job. And part of it was Baker Mayfield. Mm-hmm. Now, Dave Canales, Baker Mayfield's career got resurrected by Dave Canales in Tampa Bay.
Yep.
And then Canales, that offense was much better than anybody thought it was going to be. Baker was much better than anybody thought he was going to be. And Canales took off and got a head coaching job out of it. So it's not like Liam Cohen came in and took a terrible offense and made it great.
Sure.
This offense was already above average after Canales fixed everything.
He's kept it on track.
So Liam Cohen just took it another notch. So here's a guy that's only been a play caller for 1 year, has been an offensive coordinator in the NFL for 2 years, has been a college offensive coordinator 2 years, took an offense that was already heading in the right direction and just put up better numbers, has been a job hopper the last 5 years. I'm firing my GM for this guy.
I don't get it. I don't know. I mean, again, you attribute more of the resurrection of Baker Mayfield to Dave Canales because it's like, okay, well, do they think that he's going to come in and work magic on Trevor Lawrence, which Doug Peterson had actually done a pretty good job of that for the most part. So,
and then Lawrence got hurt and things went sideways.
And
right.
This goes back to what we were talking about with Ben Johnson, who is respected as a much better play caller than Liam Cohen is. Like, it's one thing to call your fancy plays. It's another thing to lead an organization, to build a roster, to manage, to manage the cap and all those kind of things, and put a winning foot forward with an organization that doesn't have a great history of winning like the Jaguars do or the Bears in recent memory. So, I don't know.
Here's the thing. Liam Cohen's had a lot of gigs. And the way he handled this thing with Tampa Bay was a little squirrely. Like, he told Todd Bowles that he was reigniting his interest in the Jag job, but he didn't talk to the Tampa Bay front office at all, who he agreed with, by the way, to take a new contract to make him the highest paid offensive coordinator in the league.
Right.
So, again, he handled that kind of squirrely. Here's a guy that's bounced around. Kentucky twice, the Rams twice, Tampa Bay. Here's we talk this through. You know what I'm starting to think?
What?
This dude's a great interviewer. This guy's a great networker. This guy is really good at, glad handing you, talking to you, buddying up to you. Now, look, he did a hell of a job last year. I'm not trying to downplay what he did in Tampa. But his body of work is not very deep. And for him to all of a sudden leap to a head coaching job, and I know it's Jacksonville, and I get it. And Tara, are we really counting them in the NFL? Yeah, they're still in the league. But for him to catapult himself to this spot says either A, again, this is the same franchise that hired Urban Meyer, so maybe we shouldn't really take anything they do with a grain of salt. But two, this guy must be good enough in the interview room to woo people enough that he keeps getting these jobs all over the place, despite a resume that doesn't make you go, oh, my God.
Yeah. It can dazzle you.
I feel like he's that guy.
You give him a whiteboard and a marker, and, I don't know how much Shad Khan knows about the X's and O's of football, but this guy's a genius.
Look what I do with Baker Mayfield. He's probably got a great PowerPoint plan that he just has on his computer that he just fills in different things for. Probably fancy graphics and pie charts.
Transitions. The dissolve transition on the PowerPoint.
Yes.
The one with the title spins in.
Oh yeah, he's like we say. Cliff Kingsbury dazzled you with his eyes and his dreaminess. Cohen's dazzling you with his PowerPoint and all this other cool stuff. And you're going, okay, yeah, you're hired. So you hire him? Yeah. Why? I don't know.
This is almost kind of like the Joe Judge thing with the Giants a couple years ago. It's like, why'd you hire the special teams coordinator from the Patriots? And again, ended up failing miserably. But it's like, that just seems like a bizarre hire for, he was on the same staff as Bill Belichick. Okay, it doesn't mean he's a good head coach. Right. In fact, a lot of Belichick assistants don't have a great track record as head coaches.
Yeah, you understand that, right, Giants? I mean, again, Liam Cohen is probably going, look what I do with Baker Mayfield. I worked with Will Levis at Kentucky. Do you really want that on your resume?
Not now.
I worked with Matthew Stafford with the Rams. Let me tell you a story about when Matthew Stafford and I were hanging out, sitting on the mattress that they just bought. And I can see him weaving all this stuff, and the prospective employer is just mesmerized.
I guess.
Maybe. But hey, Liam Cohen, good luck. Maybe you're going to be fantastic. No one's saying you won't be. I'm just saying it's curious. All right. Football in the 1 o'clock hour. We'll come back, talk with some college football with our buddy Michael Felder. That is next on the halftime show. David Ayer, Tyler Head, Terry Ford here on the game. We are contacting Michael Felder here in just a minute. Going to talk to Michael. All things football with Michael Felder coming up. And if you want to check out Michael Felder's work at In the Bleachers on Twitter X, it's felder.substack.com. Michael Felder writes for a ton of people, covers football for a ton of folks as well. So we get Michael Felder on. It's always fun to talk to Michael anyway. So that's coming up. Michael Felder talking some college football with him in just a minute. Again, Shane Beamer's new contract has been a big topic of conversation. We'll get back to that, obviously. The women, a top 5 clash with LSU. That is coming up, 4:30 pregame, 5 o'clock tip here on the game in Columbia. And we'll get some Lamont Paris. Lamont had an interesting take on Colin Murray Boyles that we want to get to in the 2 o'clock hour when we do what's trending at 2. And our buddy Scott Hamilton, columnist from the State's going to come here and just slum with us between 2 and 3. Right now, let's get our buddy Michael Felder on in here. Michael, how you doing, man? Not yet? All right, we're going to get Michael Felder in a minute. We're calling him now. I thought I saw him up there. Not yet, but Michael's coming up. We'll get him on in a minute. Talk some college football. It's very interesting what Lamont Paris had to say about Colin Murray Boyles being the go-to guy in South Carolina's offense. We want to play that for you in the 2 o'clock hour because it was good stuff from Lamont about the whole thing with Colin Murray Boyles. We'll get to that. First, we'll talk some college football, Michael Felder, or pro football. We'll talk CFL. We can talk flag football. If it's football, we talk to Michael Felder. How you doing, boss?
I'm doing great. How are y'all doing?
Great.
Doing all right, man. So, okay, real quick off the jump, college football playoff. Did you love it? Did you say, oh, my God, that was way too much? Did you say, hey, I like a lot of it, but we got to tweak a few things? Where are you at?
So I think there are things to tweak. I think we start with the off-season stuff, or technically off-season, even though they're in season. I think that the portal and the National Signing Day, the early signing day, if you will, which is just signing day now. I hate having a kid. There are kids that were signing with schools that still had to play for state semifinals and state championships, and I just don't think that should be a part of their mindset of what they figure out. I also miss big recruiting visits, and that's not me being a fan. It's more the experience. I was at UNC 03 to 07, and we had a big visit at the end of January every year to go into February. So, and these kids aren't getting that same experience. And then they also aren't getting the experience of getting to know all these guys. We're living in the age of a ton of interactivity between guys, and they don't get to utilize that to we've seen it, right? Where kids build a coalition of guys that they all want to go to play together at the same school. So, I'm not in love with the playoff. I think we've got to find a way to shorten it a little bit. Can we all agree? Let me ask you guys this. I'm flipping it back on you. Them dodging the NFL to try to still get ratings, that feels like it's just purely a money play, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
It's a money play. It's a money ratings play. Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm not crazy thinking that.
No. Hey, Michael, we've learned something, all of us doing this for so long. Everything eventually is about money, money, or money.
Yeah, the 3 different things. It's dineros, it's pesos, it's dollars, the whole deal. So
yes.
But the reality, but that, I don't know, man. I don't know how y'all feel. I'm bearing my soul right now. I feel bad that these guys. I went to the Duke's Mayo Bowl, and I interviewed kids from Minnesota and from Virginia Tech, and they were so happy to get to do the Richard Petty driving experience. And to eat because a lot of those kids ain't from the South, specifically Minnesota kids. They had never had Bojangles before, and they were like, Bojangles catered, and this is amazing. And I was like, yeah, dude, eat as much as you want. And these other guys, obviously, you're playing for a national championship. That's a different experience than most players ever get in college. But they're not getting the bowl experience of, going out on Bourbon Street if you go to the Sugar Bowl, or, going out on South Beach if you go to the Orange Bowl, or you don't get that because you have to be locked in to go win these games. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying we are losing something that is, I still think, important.
First of all, Michael, appreciate you taking your time and kind of wrapping up the college football season. Of course, Ohio State won the national championship. Ryan Day becomes only the third active head coach now that Mac Brown's retired to have a national championship behind Kirby Smart and Dabo Swinney, who both have a pair themselves. Are we ready to say Ryan Day is now the third best coach in college football, or is he a little bit lower on that totem pole still?
Are you ready to say that? No, are you ready to say that?
Not with a lot of confidence. It's a debate for sure, but I don't know.
You saw the second half of that football game, didn't you?
I did.
What did he do?
It unraveled to a bit, not all the way, but Notre Dame did make it interesting.
Unraveled is a great way to put it. Like, that's like when you got a string, a little thread on your sweater, and then all of a sudden you realize your sweater is 3 inches short. It's still going to get the job done. You'll be warm, but it don't look right. And that's the thing for me with Ryan Day. I call him perfect play Ryan Day. I just don't. I can't. They should have scored 50 points on that football team. They should have scored 50 points on Notre Dame. And they walk out with just one field goal, and they're like, I mean, it reminds me of, I'll be honest, and maybe this is like a little self-hate that I have, but it reminds me of me, where it's like, hey, good is good enough. This is C's get degrees. If C's get degrees, it is like good. As long as my mom and dad aren't going to argue with me about this, I'll just do the bare minimum, and that's what they did to win the football game. When you have 3 NFL wide receivers, 2 NFL running backs, 50 points should be on your radar, and it clearly wasn't for him.
Michael Felder hanging out with you. You got about another 10 minutes to kill?
Yeah.
All right, we'll bring it back. We got to do this because we're about money, too. So we got to do a little thing here. We'll come back and hang out with you some more. All right, our buddy Michael Felder at In the Bleachers on Twitter, our college football analyst. Michael Felder, come back with us here. Football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. David Dare punching the buttons. Tyler Head, Terry Ford, halftime show in the game. Now, we are talking a ton of football with our buddy Michael Felder, college football analyst. You can check him out, Twitter X, at In the Bleachers. Also, it's Felder at Substack. You can listen to Mike's podcast. All right, my man, I appreciate you hanging in there for another segment. All right, so now that we've seen the dust clear and settle on this season, let's take this in another direction. Mm-hmm. As we've seen the college football playoff roll itself out, and we saw, again, Notre Dame and Ohio State, two teams in the old formula wouldn't even have been in the Final Four, and they win the whole thing. What team in your mind screwed up a great opportunity to possibly win this whole thing this year?
In the playoff or in the regular season?
Regular season. Who had their shot to get into this mix and really do some damage and basically soiled themselves?
Oh, Alabama. I think that's the easy answer is Alabama. In the playoff, Oregon is the answer. But Alabama in the regular season, I mean, we're talking about a team that you lose to Vanderbilt. That's not okay. And then you lose to Oklahoma. They lost two games that were like to teams that are like, in the words of the kids, mid, right?
Yes.
Like, you lost to two teams that are just like, okay. So, yeah, I think Alabama's the answer. I think Milroe it's going to be interesting to see what happens for him moving forward. He is an incredibly dynamic runner. He's got a tremendous arm. Somebody has to harness all those talents and figure out a way to make it work, if it ever does work. And so Alabama's that answer. In the playoff, I think Oregon is the answer because in the playoff, Dylan Gabriel is a very good football player, and I think we'll see Tennessee back in the playoff. But I was going to say Nico Iamaleava, but the reality is Oregon's going to have to find another quarterback at some point, whether it's through the portal or development or whatever. I think it's going to be harder for them to get back to where they were, which is their first year in the Big Ten. They won the Big Ten.
So the other day, Paul Feinbaum on Get Up on ESPN threw out the proclamation that the Big Ten has now taken over college football because the SEC hasn't played for a national championship in 2 years. You're the expert here.
I think we got the answer right there.
Where's the gap between the two conferences, in your opinion?
What gap, man? Like, styles make fights, one. Two, like, we're talking about a Tennessee team playing Ohio State an Ohio State team that clearly they had a lot more experience. Jeremiah Smith notwithstanding, but they had Jack Sawyer and they had JTT and they had Cody Simon. Like, they had adults. They had adult human men going up against Nico Iamaleava on the defensive side, right?
Yep.
And then on the offensive side, they have 3 NFL wide receivers and 2 NFL running backs. I heard it in the break, right? Quinshon Judkins already is going to the NFL draft. We did this. 5 NFL players at skill positions. We're not even counting the offensive line. So, and Will Howard's played a ton of football too. That's completely different than Tennessee. So, yeah, I don't think the tables have turned. I don't think things have flipped. I do think that because I live in North Carolina. Obviously, we don't have an SEC school here, but it's still the South, man. And the reality here is, I mean, you think they want to play Sellers? You think they want to play him? No, they don't. Lagway? This is one of those things where there's always this gap, and it happens in every conference, where it seems like the good quarterbacks bubble up together. Because we haven't even talked about Arch, right? Arch Manning?
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like they bubble up together, and it's going to be really interesting because as someone who works in recruiting but also works in the NFL draft, this is a real bad NFL draft if you want to get a quarterback player.
Mm-hmm.
This is not good for you. So this is not the draft you want to be like quarterback hungry, quarterback thirsty for. Like, if you're thirsty for a quarterback in this draft, just get an offensive lineman. Honestly, get an offensive lineman, get a defensive lineman, do anything but not do the thing that you think you're supposed to do. So it'll be interesting to see how this shakes itself out. I do think that what we're seeing is, and look, I'll show my age. I'll go back to BCS. During the BCS era, the SEC wasn't really great for quarterbacks, which is fine because the defenses were so good. Then you watch the rules progression. Thomas Davis couldn't have played at Georgia the way that he played at Georgia when he played at Georgia. This man would have been thrown out. He would have missed a half a game every half a game because he was destroying people. And now the way the rules have changed, the SEC is just they're on a ebb and flow, right? They're in the trough right now with quarterbacks. But when they had Joe Burrow, if you go back-to-back Joe Burrow to Jaden Daniels, and then we're going to get to see a healthy Nussmeier next year, LSU is probably going to be a problem. We mentioned Lagway already, right? we've mentioned Sellers. Like this, they've got guys. Nico's going to be a year older, a year smarter. So if people like, I sat next to Paul Feinbaum on a plane. I felt like if I coughed, I would have destroyed him. Just he's a small little man. He's never played football. Like I'm watching football as a football player, and these dudes, you got to have a dude. And Carson Beck moving, I think Gunner is going to be really good at Georgia. And Carson Beck moving to Miami lets me know that he don't want that smoke. And I think part of it is we now have, whether it's Sellers, whether it's Sellers, it's Arch Manning. We have guys. I'm saying we. I'm not even a part of the SEC. They have guys. But listen, North Carolina's still the Southeast. But they have guys that, and this is very important, because it's the difference between DJ Uiagalelei, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, right? You need a quarterback that can command that locker room. And I'm not talking about talent. I'm not talking about skill. What I'm talking about is when he walks in there, everybody knows he's a dog. And I think we've got that right now. And I think what we're building to is that. So I'm saying I stand up for the South. Let's go. So I think Arch is someone that you have to respect. He's forcing Quinn Ewers out, basically, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you have that, and then Nussmeier, oh, man, those kids love him, which is very cool. I think Gunner is someone who reminds me a little bit of some sort of a blend of Stetson Bennett and Jake Fromm, where the team is like, hey, that's our dude. We get down with him heavy. Lagway, people, they absolutely love that dude. So you have to have that element, and I don't think, honestly, I know people liked Graham Mertz, but Graham Mertz didn't have that for Florida.
Right.
So I do think that you do have to have some sort of charisma.
All right, my man, we appreciate you. We're going to start bugging you some more now. You good with that?
I'm good with that, man. I'm here.
No, I appreciate you, Michael, our college football guy. Michael Felder covers college football, the NFL, played at North Carolina. Appreciate him. What's trending at 2 coming up? Traditions, Fine Jewelry, and Gamecock Traditions. Talk more women's and men's Carolina basketball next here on the Halftime Show on the Game. interesting dude. What's trending at 2? Sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry, Gamecock Traditions here on the Halftime Show. David Ayer, Tyler Head, Terry Ford here on the game. Obviously, we got a big little basketball tilt. 4:30 pregame, 5 o'clock tip right here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia as South Carolina hosts LSU, a top 5 clash. Dawn Staley talking about this game. Let's go cut 6, Dave. The LSU offense, they have four players who average in double digits. Johnson, Morrow, and Williams are over 16 a game, and they shoot the ball well. All three are 48% or higher. Johnson and Williams can hit threes at 37%. They're a very top-heavy team when it comes to offensive productivity, but these players can fill buckets.
Yeah, they're the only team in the the SEC with 3 players, those 3, Morrow, Johnson, and Williams, that average over 15 points per game. So they can attack you in multiple ways on offense.
All right, so here's Dawn Staley talking about slowing down that LSU offense. Cut 6, Dave.
It's our defense. It's our willingness to get stops. Our willingness is to disrupt. Our willingness to not give teams what they want to do best. LSU wants to play in transition. LSU wants to execute in ball screen offense and they want to execute winning the battle of the boards. So, if we take care of those 3 things, I think it puts us in a really good place.
So that's Dawn talking about basically we're going to guard you. We're going to get up on you man-to-man. We're going to play the passing lanes. We're going to, take care of the paint. We're going to contest shots. Well, if you're loose with the rock, we'll take it from you.
Yep.
We're going to dictate with our defense to slow down your really good offense, basically.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see because, again, Anisha Morrow is legitimately the best rebounder in all of women's college basketball. 14 a game, but she's only 6'1".
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I don't know how many teams they've gone against that might have a size advantage over her, but Kitts is bigger than her. They've got size that potentially negate her ability to rebound a little bit.
And again, with Kitts and, you have Edwards, you have Fagan, you have some folks that can, make Morrow's life a bit difficult in waves. This is where you miss Ashlyn Watkins, by the way.
Definitely so. And the intensity and aggressiveness she plays with on defense. Again, you've seen, a full Wiley pick up some slack. Joyce Edwards obviously picking up some slack and really coming into her true form as her freshman season rolls along. It's still amazing to say that. But again, we talked about earlier, as long as Carolina plays their version of basketball and they don't turn the ball over 50 times, I think that should be fine.
All right, let's also grab cut 3, Dave, here from Dawn Staley, about what this game, 2 top 5 squads in the SEC, top 5 nationally, both from the SEC, what this does for the game of women's basketball.
It's a little bit harder a day later. You get yourself amped up, and then the game is pushed back. Get an extra day of prep time, something that is kind of weird too because we're just not used to having 3 days, and so we just had a shorter day just to make sure that we got everything and keeping our game timing right. But it's awesome. It's awesome for our sport. It's awesome for our league. It's awesome to be able to participate in rivalry games, and hopefully we won't disappoint by putting some great basketball out there on the floor.
So again, top 5 matchup: LSU, South Carolina. How the extra days? How does it affect the teams? Both got the extra day because of the weather. We'll see. Does it affect anybody, or do you just go play? I
would say it's probably an effect on the other end where you're going to Tennessee on Monday and having a shorter turnaround for that. That I'd probably be more concerned with. But again, you're at home. LSU's got to come to you. They've had more weather issues there than you've had here. I think it'd be more of a disadvantage for them than Carolina, though. Their road game on Monday would concern me a little bit, saying, okay, you got a shorter turnaround for that game.
All right, and again, 4:30 pregame, 5 o'clock tip here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia, South Carolina, and LSU. The men, of course, coming off that heartbreaking loss to Florida a couple nights ago. Lamont Paris, God love him, was on Carolina Calls last night. And we were talking about Colin Murray Boyles yesterday, saying, CMB, He's the best player on your team, best offensive player on your team, best player on your team.
Sure.
He's the guy that needs to get the most shots. He's the guy that's got to touch the ball in crunch time.
Yep.
And there's three things typically that are issues if your best player is not touching the ball in crunch time. A, your best player is not asking or demanding the ball.
Right.
He's not doing what the alpha dog needs to do at times, is give me the rock and get the hell out of the way. 2, the coaching staff isn't recognizing and either introducing that best player to the team or calling plays to get the best player involved. Or 3, the best player's teammates aren't recognizing the times to get the ball to the best player on the team.
Yep.
Lamont Paris talked about Colin Murray-Boyles. One of these 3 things we just talked about, CMB is not comfortable taking command or being in command in those type of situations. Cut 10, Dave, from Lamont.
And we've made a concerted effort, like in that game specifically, as we've seen stuff. We try to force the hand because I said it we watched film today with the team, and one thing, there was one possession late in the game, and sometimes it's out of your hands. I said, Colin, you have to go command the ball. You have to command the basketball at this point on this possession. Yep. And he's not. That's out of his comfort zone. Being quite frank, it's out of his comfort zone. And so you take it for granted that when you run good offense, because he is so versatile, he'll just find his way into a bunch of different things, which he typically does. But I do think we've made a concerted effort to have some buttons to push to say, hey, okay, it's been too long since Colin didn't get something on his own, off the backboard, on a drive, off of a ball screen. Let's run this where we know he's going to get a touch. But in that game, we did that a bunch, and they played in a way where he was going to be more of a passer than a scorer.
And Colin Murray-Boyles, to his credit, did 7-8 assists.
Yeah, that was a career high in assists. Yeah. So he was dishing it out a lot. But we talked about this, the other day, that when you're in a tight game against a good team, you would like for your best player to take the ball, take some shots. And, I can understand not wanting to be selfish. But again, if you're the best player on the team, sometimes you got to be. And sometimes it's best for the team. Your teammate may not like it in the moment, but when you score and help your team win, and be like, oh, well, helped us win.
Yeah, you got to make buckets sometimes. Sometimes your best player has just got to be your best player. And the team, I think his teammates understand, look, he's our dude. But sometimes players get away from themselves, or they take that first shot available, or they're trying to do this or that, and you lose the idea that you got to get the ball to your best guy. But that's when your best guy needs also command the rock. And like Lamont says, that's not what Colin Murray-Boyles, that's not his comfort zone.
Well, it was the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game the other day, and Colin Murray-Boyles didn't take a single shot. Like, as the sky is falling, as things are coming unraveled, sometimes your best player hitting a shot, or whatever it may be, can kind of get you back on track a little bit.
And so that's the thing. It's like Lamont said, we try to get him the ball. We run stuff for him. Hey, Colin, you got to take over here. And he's just not comfortable with that. But you got to go. You don't have to be a jerk, but you just have to be comfortable in commanding the ball when it's time to get the ball. Or when you get the ball, it's time to make a play, whether for yourself or you initiate action that'll get your teammate an easy hoop or a wide open step in 2-3. And Colin Murray-Boyles, as this season goes along, for South Carolina to have any success, he has got to, in crunch time moments, say, okay, hey, give me the ball.
Yeah.
And I'll make it happen from here. So that was a very interesting cut from Lamont. Also, Lamont talked about Colin Murray-Boyles shooting threes. Cut 11, Dave.
I do. I'd like him to shoot. I'd like him to shoot 2 confident threes per game, honestly. But you have to be confident. He's shot some, and he's been a little gun shy. He's shot them as by default. Mm-hmm. That one he stepped into as if the play was for him to catch and shoot three. And I've always believed that that's a big part of your ability to make it. Is, do you believe? Are you confident enough to take the thing? And so, he's also a smart player, though. He knows that he can help the team in a lot of different ways. We had a guy, Nigel Hayes, when I was at Wisconsin. He shot 40% from three as a sophomore. He took 0 3-point attempts as a freshman. Not because he could not make a three, but because he knew the other things he did were so good that why would he settle for a three if he could also just attack the basket? And so I think a lot of that is what Colin does. But that's an area for growth as we move forward. I'd definitely like to see him be able to be more productive from that.
Colin Murray-Boyles this year, like if you look at Jay's through the season, he's taken a 3-point shot in, I think, maybe roughly half the games.
Yeah,
he's attempted a three.
He's attempted 16 on the season so far, made 5 of them. He only attempted 5 a year ago. And remember going back to last year where, he obviously really didn't join the team until halfway through the year in terms of playing because of the mono, but we kept hearing he's got this ability from the outside that we have not unleashed yet. And for whatever reason, that didn't really come to a head much last year. You see more confidence in it this year and a willingness to try it, but it's still not to, like Coach Bear said, I want him to take at least 2 a game.
Confidence
it's not there
in the flow of the offense threes.
And it's not for whatever reason, because if that's the case, then he should be sitting at, doing the math in my head now, almost 60 attempts.
Right, and it's just the idea that when you watch him take the shot, it doesn't look like a bad stroke. Like, you're like, what are you doing? Like, you see some guys take a three, and you're like, don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
Ever in your life. When he shoots a three, you're not going, ooh. So it's there. And to, Lamont's point, Nigel Hayes became a good 3-point shooter when he was a guy that was allergic to the 3-point line his freshman year. So guys can become better at it and get more comfortable with it. And if Colin Murray-Boyles could extend his offense to where he consistently can make you pay if you leave him open at 3, now see what else he can do.
Sure.
It sets up so many other things.
Definitely.
So that was some good stuff from Lamont about Colin Murray-Boyles. All right, we're doing this cool contest along with Gamecock Traditions and Traditions Fine Jewelry. It's called the Over-Under. For today's game with South Carolina and LSU, the Traditions Fine Jewelry 107.5 the game over-under is 5.5 threes for South Carolina. This is very simple. You can either go to Gamecock Traditions website or you can go to 1075thegame.com. You see that little flippy thingy, you click on the Gamecock Traditions over-under contest. It comes up with either you're going over the 5.5 or under the 5.5. You pick whichever one, put your info in, pop submit, and if you are correct, you'll go in the pool of people who are right, and Gamecock Traditions will pull a gift card, and hopefully your name is on it. It's that simple. Still have time, obviously, to get there. The game doesn't tip till 5. You go to 1075thegame.com, or you go to Gamecock Traditions website, and you can enter into the Gamecock Traditions over-under contest here on the game. Well, he finally showed up. Scott Hamilton's here. He made it.
Oh, boy. We're in for a wild 45 minutes.
I don't know what he's carrying. He's got something he's drinking. Wonder what's in it.
We'll find out when he gets in there.
Scott Hamilton, columnist from the State newspaper, will hop in here and just kind of bum around with us till 3 o'clock. Halftime show. David Ayer, Punch the Buttons. Tyler Heads here. Terry Ford. Scott Hamilton. Get ready with the dump button, Dave. Just get ready. I'm just telling you. Scott Hamilton from the State's going to come in here and hang with us next on the halftime show in the game.
embarrassing. I'm a technical wizard because I.
What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry, Gamecock Traditions from the Post and Courier. I always want to put him at the State. Post and Courier, Scott Hamilton. What's up, bub?
Probably not my salary after you keep telling people I work for the wrong company.
I know.
Maybe my job prospects are going down.
Hey, it wouldn't be the first time you're looking for a gig. Anyway,
no doubt.
Post and Courier columnist Scott Hamilton. All right, besides bringing that smelly, stinky coffee in here.
That you provided, your company provided.
I wouldn't drink my company's coffee.
See, by the way, for the good people at Cumulus, I will drink your coffee. I will make your coffee. I will deliver your coffee.
You know what? I always like the
I gotta
sound
have
of
another
butt
job.
getting kissed.
You've already torpedoed my current job. I've got to make sure I got something else lined up.
Oh, man. All right. Speaking of what you're writing and what you're doing, anything you're working on that we can get into here and have a little fun with?
Well, maybe a stroke if you keep this up. Yeah, I'm headed over to the women's game. Kim Mulkey, the Kim Mulkey watch.
Okay, so what is she going to wear tonight?
I know, man.
What's your guess?
Is it bad that I'm like really excited and slightly aroused by that? Because I love her outfits, dude.
I don't know about the arousal part.
I was okay. You got
lost
to the
me at
arousal.
I also
you
like
might have
Jodi
lost.
Arias. So, scary and creepy, that does it for me.
Really?
I think with the winter weather delays, I'm going to go Yeti. I think just like
Yeti.
full-on Yeti. Right?
You think?
I think so.
Vortex?
Yeah, that's my guess.
I don't know. I think she does something like an homage to what would the coach at Tennessee? I can't think. I hate that I can't think of her name right offhand. But she just had the baby, and maybe she does some kind of maternal outfit like that.
Oh,
Something.
okay.
Why, you go maternity?
But not maybe a full-on maternity outfit.
Because she said, I hope she has the baby in the middle of the game on the court. It's a good distraction.
That's a total.
Well, that would be a distraction. I mean, you're giving birth, water's breaking at mid-court. That would be a distraction.
Mulkey gets aggravated because Kim Caldwell.
Kim Caldwell.
Yeah, but native West Virginian, by the way.
Here we go.
But working on a couple of things, heading over to that, check it out. Here's something I'm wondering going into this game. Mm-hmm. And I spoke with Rebecca Lobo about it a couple of weeks ago during the Texas game. Mm-hmm. Are we ever going to see another great dynasty? Are we? Are we going to see Tennessee Pat Summitt level? Geno's run is done.
Yeah.
Well, and what Geno did, it's just an interesting thing you bring up. Because back in the old days, before any of us were really paying attention to anything, and it was before ESPN, so did it even exist? The UCLA run obviously will never be replicated in men's college basketball ever again.
Now, they had NIL before it was a thing.
Yes, they did. Uncle Sam Gilbert.
That's right.
There's some great Uncle Sam stories about John Wooden, where the minute the name Uncle Sam came up, John walked out of the room.
Where's the camera, by the way? Because I want to make sure that they get my good side. Because we talk about the live stream.
You have a good side?
It's right there.
Where is this
There it
camera?
is.
They're right here in
Pointing
front of you, right here.
Oh, right
See, those
there.
things are
Yes.
called cameras. That's not your good side.
Yeah, I got to bend over.
That's
for
not your
that.
good side either. But are we going to see, and look, in South Carolina right now is the best women's program in the country, and we've seen what Dawn's done here, recently. But Geno, that was UCLA-like. Are we going to see something like that again in women's college basketball?
We'll never see it in any sport again.
That was crazy.
We'll never see it in any sport, ever. There's no sport unless it's No, there's no sport. Because everybody in every sport wants to compete. It doesn't matter if it's softball, if it's golf, tennis, whatever. Every school wants to compete. And every school, believe it or not, has this, and I wrote about it the other day, has this cabal of oligarchs who will stroke checks to be successful. Now, will they do it for 10 straight years? No. But they'll do it long enough to get that one or two championships that'll disrupt a dynasty. And we'll never see it again, Terry. Never see it again.
It feels like that run is over. And I was just talking about women's college basketball. We know what's going on in men's, and we know, like Nick. Well, we saw Nick Saban do at Alabama.
The end was near, though.
Well, Nick, what was it? Nick said when they lost in the college football playoff in overtime.
Yeah.
And the first thing he's hearing from some players is, okay, what are we going to do with my NIL? Nick was done.
Well, okay. My sources in that locker room, those conversations were being held between the SEC championship and the semifinals.
Oh,
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah, I believe that too.
Because that's the time where you can jump in the transfer portal.
That's exactly
Okay,
right. And
am I
they're
staying
like,
or going?
we're not going to play. Hey, I want another $1 million. I'm not going to play. That was happening, and that's when he said, I'm done. This whole deal about I didn't wait until the morning and blah, 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 that was just to make sure he was done.
Right.
He was done.
Well, that's not what he signed up for. And a lot of the people who brought us these great dynasties or have been good for a long time, they said, this isn't what I signed up for. Like, on the morning show today, they were talking about, like, in men's college basketball, because really, look, let's face it, the men's college basketball is a coach's sport, not a player sport anymore. You have nomads all over the place, one-and-doners or transfer portal, like, guys who bounce all around, grifters. But it's always been you like that?
Well, that was a good movie.
Yeah,
John Cusack.
Really good movie.
John Cusack.
Really good movie, Grifters. So when you look at the sport, it's always been big personalities with men's coaches, right?
Yes.
Who are the big personalities now in men's college basketball when you talk
Bruce
about
Pearl.
coaches? Pearl? I think Pearl's a big
Bruce
personality.
Pearl, Dan Hurley.
I think Hurley's the one. How about Hurley the other night? Look at the referee going, I'm the best coach in the business.
Can you say jackass on the radio? Because he's a jackass.
Well, you just did.
No, you just said it twice. We had to dump you. Good job.
No, he is. I mean, he the way he dehumanizes referees, and they've allowed this to continue for so long that it's unchecked. How do you bring him back in now? You can't.
Well, no,
But
you
isn't
can't.
it also good for the sport that he embraces the heel role? That he's not
yeah.
afraid to be the villain and the
Is
guy
it-
that everybody else can hate?
Is it because, listen, man, there's a difference in being a heel and being a blah, blah, blah. And he's turning into blah, blah, blah. Nobody likes a blah, blah, blah.
Well, let's think about it for a minute.
You like how I censored myself?
That was pretty good with blah 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 because you can put a lot of dirty words in for blah blah blah. I like that. Here's the thing about Hurley is think about it. He always had an ego. I remember when he was at Rhode Island.
What coach doesn't?
Right, but he always had that edge to him at Rhode Island. I remember Maryland and Rhode Island had a thing back when Turgeon was at Maryland. They played in a pre-conference tournament, and there was a thing with Hurley and Turgeon, and Hurley would have took Turgeon. But anyway, so he's always had it. So add it to now I've won back-to-back championships. I'm the dude. The Lakers wanted me. Now the ego needs its own Uber ride now, right? With Danny Hurley.
It has its own call-in show.
Exactly. So I think the heel, but he is, I think in the words of that great philosopher T.O., he loves himself some him to a big extent. But I think it's a big personality, and that's good for the sport because there's not a lot of, you brought up Bruce Pearl, but is Bruce Pearl known by the casual sports fan the way this other era of college basketball coaches for the men were? Do people who just are casual sports fans know Bruce Pearl?
I would say they know the face.
Okay.
You reckon that big, jovial guy, shirt off at the football games. You know the face, but they couldn't give you the biography. They couldn't give you the resume.
Right.
So I would concede no.
So I think that's the one thing in a sport that is really a coach's sport. We don't have those compelling. The women, Kim Mulkey is more compelling than any of the men's coaches.
She is the second best thing to happen other than Dawn Staley.
Yeah, and Dawn Staley obviously is compelling in her own way that's different than Kim Mulkey.
She has more equity.
Yes,
She has a lot-
absolutely.
and I wrote this the other day too. This is the biggest thing I love about Dawn Staley. She has a voice, but she does not preach. She speaks.
Yeah.
She doesn't preach. She says what she got in her mind, whatever.
Did you really write that, or somebody? That was a good line. Did you write that, or somebody else come up with that?
AI. AI. Allen Iverson did it for me.
Right.
That's a senior quote waiting to happen.
That is fantastic.
Preach but do not speak, Scott Hamilton.
Are you going to fix my Twitter?
I'm going to try.
We're going to get to
I'm
that.
gonna
Hey,
get to that.
listen, what's the call-in number? Do we have any tech experts out there? I've got I'm using this right now, this platform. Somebody hacked my Twitter again, and I need help. Anybody that has any savvy.
I'm going to give it my best shot in the commercial break.
$100 cash money. I'm serious. Anybody that fixes this problem.
So here's the thing. You offered that to Tyler first. Now you can't.
Tyler, get cracking.
Tyler do it first.
Well,
He's got to hurry.
We kind of had the segment
He's
to
sitting
do.
there doing nothing.
We're kind of doing radio. Scott.
He's got a computer. He can multitask. I'm texting people. I'm taking messages. I'm entertaining you and the masses.
Well, let's not get crazy on the
And I'm
entertaining
looking at
part.
the camera.
All right, Poster Courier, Scott Hamilton. David Ayers is here, punch the buttons. Tyler Head, who's going to fix the hack Twitter of Scott Hamilton. Terry Ford, halftime show, rolling up until 3 here on the game. All right, halftime show, hanging out with our buddy Scott Hamilton, Post and Courier columnist, Terry Ford, Tyler Head, David Dare here on the game. All right, real quick, you're putting together a possible NIL story.
Possible.
And
it's possible.
You've been digging into this stuff. You know, you got your sources, and you do the deep throat thing in the basements, talking to people who
He does
are
the
anonymous.
what thing in the basements?
Got the 2 liter of Mountain Dew, and I'm playing World of Warcraft.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is a PG show, Terry.
Dude, you
did say
don't
Jackass
understand
earlier.
Watergate. You haven't studied Watergate.
I have not.
Have you seen All the President's Men?
That's what you gotta
obviously
do.
not.
Yes, I have actually.
That's Watergate.
That's
Well,
Watergate.
I know about Watergate.
Now there's the guy that came out a few years ago who was their deep throat, their informant on
Mark
Nixon.
Felt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mark Felt. He was this deputy director of the FBI.
so you have all these NIL informants like that guy.
I got people, man. I got
So,
people. No, it's really cool. It got on my radar, and I started pulling a thread to it. Mm-hmm. Follow the money. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's this company now called FanStake, and we're going to have a column about it in the Post and Courier next weekend. I was going to do it this weekend, but I think it deserves a little more time because I've actually spoken to a couple of coaches on the record, but anonymously about it. But basically, what FanStake is, let's say Tyler is a senior recruit at a high school. We'll use a high school there. It applies to anybody. Tyler is a senior recruit at a high school, and Terry, you are an alum of good old State U. Mm-hmm. Well, he's highly sought after. You want to help make sure he goes to State U, so you and all your other alumni can stake him like you would stake a fighter or something like that, and you kick in money to a fund, and you can track it, how it's doing.
Oh, really?
And then Tyler sees it. So it's basically crowdsourcing or a grassroots effort. It's almost like a GoFundMe
to get players.
And here's what's interesting though. You're not going to get the multi-million-dollar. That's for the boosters and people have companies who want to get a return in the form of advertising. But the way I framed it was these are love letters. They're love letters. This is how much I want to see you in my team's uniform.
And we're going to put together this much money for you.
And we're going. And I, you know what? I'm a normal Joe, and I've got a normal job. But boy, I'm going to give you $100. I'm going to put $100 towards you coming to good old State U. And Nate Ament, he is the highest rated basketball player in the class of 2025 who has yet to commit. Mm-hmm. He actually has a FanStake account, and people are kicking in money to this.
Who's going the highest so far?
Louisville.
Not surprised. They love hoop.
They love it. See, and it makes perfect sense. Louisville loves it. And it's really cool. I mean, there's so much more to it, and I don't want to, open the kimono, as they say, and reveal everything.
Right.
I want to make sure you go to postandcourier.com a week from Sunday.
And read it.
But it's a really interesting story. Coaches love it. Coaches hate it. 80s love it. 80s hate it because they hate the whole environment.
Sure.
But they like the part about it being a direct touch point between the fan base and the athlete. That's what they like.
What do they hate?
That money, the whole money thing. It's just.
I mean, they like it under the table. They don't like it over.
They like it under the table. Well, here's the thing. I mean, I think collectives are going to go away eventually. Everything's just going to be free agency. Get what you want. The portal's going away. This Miami, Wisconsin thing's going to be the death of the portal. Because when you step into court, first of all, and I know it's cliche, but I'm going to say this. Billable Hours remains undefeated. We got Ohio State has the college football playoff championship trophy, but Billable Hours has the universe undefeated trophy.
You know, we've all learned way too much. Well, we've learned way too much about Tyler over the last few years.
The Sherman Antitrust Act of 1892.
Yeah, because we know.
Yeah.
Well, you know about the House settlement.
I know too much about that.
And that's the thing.
And the one before that.
All of this, and we know billable hours are undefeated, but you know who's winless? The NCAA.
Well,
NCAA.
And every slight idea or alteration leads to another lawsuit. Like now there's the Title IX thing that's coming up about the allocated money when it comes to revenue distribution. That's going to be another lawsuit on top of another lawsuit. It's a never-ending cycle.
It's a never-ending cycle. And so the portal's going to go away. And what that's going to do is that's going to force collective bargaining.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Oh, there's your drinking word of the hour.
Collective bargaining. Shot.
This guy, I've been sitting here for the last so many years saying this thing will never make any sense until you collectively bargain.
And what happens then? Yeah, go ahead, Tyler. Go
I was
ahead.
just saying, I worked here for 2 years, and I've heard Terry say CBA to some degree.
Collective bargaining.
At least 8,000 times.
CBA. And it's going to happen here. And what is going to be the biggest impact of collective bargaining, Terry? I've got my idea, and I don't want to hear yours, but Shane Beamer, net $8 million, his next contract's going to be about $4 million.
Money's got to come from somewhere.
It's got to come from somewhere.
Here's my fear of all this. And this, look, and again, I love everybody getting paid. I got no issue with this stuff.
I wish Shane Beamer made $80 million.
Yeah, players, coaches, everybody, if you're worth it and you can get it, go have it. But and I know I'm in the minority and many people care about this, but here's the deal. You know where else they're going to go? Does that volleyball team make any money? How much we spend on that volleyball team? How much we spend on crew? How much do we spend on baseball? How much are we spending on track and field? Sorry, you can go be club sports somewhere. You can be intramurals somewhere.
Here we go in another direction.
Mm-hmm.
Those are still going to remain NCAA sports, and they will be governed by the House settlement and things like that. Football's going to be its own baby.
I think that's
where the collective bargaining comes from.
Well,
maybe men's basketball, but here's the thing: men's basketball, the NCAA tournament is such a franchise and makes so much money.
Cash cow. Yep.
It is. But do they? And next segment we can dovetail into this. Does the Power Four, the Super Two, Ohio State, Freudian slip, Big Ten and SEC, do they, when they inevitably split off, do they take basketball with them and have their own dance?
Well, and they could.
They could.
But here's the thing. The interesting thing about basketball is, those two leagues are the behemoths in football. But the Big 12 is the best basketball league.
Yeah. I will argue that.
Well, this year the SEC is really good. But consistently over the last 5 years, I think the Big 12 and the Big 12.
But at the same time, what if they did their own thing and then invited certain teams from those other conferences?
Make it an invitational.
We recognize you're the best team in the Big 12. You're the best handful of teams in the Big 12. We got our own tournament. Come join us and fight for the overall national championship, and then you're leaving the NCAA with nothing.
But here's the thing.
They wouldn't be able to go back then.
I guess not.
Here's the issue, too, though. And we always say this about fans. Because us fans are dopey. We watch no matter what. You can disrespect us all day and we come back, right?
I do disrespect you all day.
And then when we come back. And we come back. So, but here's my thing. The NCAA tournament, the way it's constructed, where, VCU can make a run out of nowhere and go to the Final Four.
That's its biggest selling point.
That's the selling point of this tournament.
Yeah.
This tournament is so built on that Cinderella. We talk about George Mason and nobody cares about that UCLA run a few years ago from the first four. It's UCLA. We care about VCU, George Mason.
NC State.
Yes, the NC State run with Valvano. Butler was a long heave away from stealing a national championship. That's what we love.
Steph Curry at Davidson.
Yes, it got to the Elite Eight. Almost got to the Final Four.
Steph Curry.
That's the stuff we love. And if you start money grabbing that and take away the specialness of what we love, I really think you're endangering what makes that tournament special. That's the one thing I think. I know we do everything for money. I know fans don't care to a point. But that tournament is loved for certain reasons that are a little bit different from everything else. And when you go full bore money grab on that, are you going to hurt the essence of it, and are you going to cost yourself viewers?
We've said all this about other things.
But this is different.
No, it's
different.
We've said that too.
No.
But this is different.
What is like the NCAA?
Different.
What is like the NCAA tournament?
I would say the regular season of college football.
No, I don't really. I don't know
App
if I
State
agree with
beating
that.
Michigan. Okay, Northern Illinois beats Notre Dame.
But how special was this regular season because of the playoff?
It was so good, but before the playoff, we were saying it's going to marginalize the greatest regular season
I don't think
in sport.
everybody was saying that.
Not everybody. Just like not everybody will say if you take away the Big Ten and SEC from the NCAA men's basketball championship, it's going to marginalize.
Seriously, okay. So if you just have those two entities having a tournament,
I kind of like Tyler's idea, but see if they have an invitational, the Big 12 won't be able to go back to the NCAA.
Yeah, that's kind of the unfortunate.
I'll work through the
other
legal
end of that.
minutia of that though.
so
Give me
then
time.
if you just have these big entities, these conferences, where's your
As they
story?
stand now, Terry, as they stand now, if they diverge and go Super 2, you're looking at the Big Ten getting at least 4 more schools, SEC getting 4 more schools. What about it be 20 each?
Yep.
Then you go and you get a Kansas. You
Sure
go
you
and
are.
you get Texas Tech or whomever.
Right.
I'm telling you, that's where we're going.
Oh, I can see. But my point is, they can do that. That's fine.
But you're wanting to see
in
UC
football, it
Santa
works
Barbara
perfect.
makes a run, and
But most people want that in the NCAA
Sure they
tournament.
do.
That's my point. Fans love that. You fill out that bracket. What are people doing all the time?
They're throwing darts at the wall.
Right, and they're losing money.
They don't
out
know anything about
but
it.
they are doing. They love their Cinderella. And when you put no Cinderellas in this tournament, there's no David. There's a bunch of Goliaths and mid majors who.
There's always a Cinderella. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
who's
saying.
gonna
Okay,
be-
let's use NC State as the example last year.
Was that really a Cinderella?
Yes.
Were people talking about about ends? Now, if we go away in 5 years, when they talk about great Cinderellas, they're talking about Valvano's NC State.
That is a Cinderella that could exist in a all-power conference tournament because, again, it's a
And it
team
was
that nobody
still a
gave a
great
shot that
story.
had to play their way through the
There's
conference
always
tournament and all that kind of stuff.
Cinderella.
But the instance of the St. Peter's would go out the window,
That's my
essentially.
point.
Well, she's up. Get her an NIL deal, Sister Jean, and we'll have her courtside with Nate Oates at Alabama.
All right, we'll finish this up. Scott Hamilton hanging out with us from the Post and Courier. Tyler Head, David Dare. It's a halftime show. We roll one more segment here on the game.
Welcome back in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, Terry Ford, Scott Hamilton hanging out.
Terry's MIA.
Causing all kinds of mischief. Yeah. So you don't know the running joke that we have about the beginning of the show. So
does he wash his hands at least before he comes in?
that I don't know, because I'm usually in here for the first 5 minutes by myself. We have listeners that wait. They have bets being placed on how late Terry's going to be. So it's usually anywhere between 3 and 5 minutes. I will give him credit. He was actually on time today, which is amazing and rarely ever happens.
You know why
once a month.
You know why I do that? To make people lose money.
Does he call you? Does he ever, how long does it take you to get him to return a call? He called me back today because I said, please call me.
So he's pretty quick with that.
Okay, so he blows me off. It ghosts me. Ghosts me.
You know, he tells me he has important program director things that he's doing before the show starts. So I'm just flying solo for a few minutes. Sometimes me and Dave talk about Larkin Poe. It's a great time.
Let's talk about this wardrobe he's got, okay? Mm-hmm. Just so casual.
Yeah, you know. But here it is. You got to understand, you know, you've got to, when they give you these program director jobs, you can't dress like the schlub you used to be, like you are, for example, like you're dressed today. You know, you can't.
A schlub.
You have to wear button-down shirts, and you have to talk with people.
Shirt. I don't want to cross brand. Why don't you have the Randy Travis tight jean belt buckle?
Nobody wants to see me in tight jeans and belt buckles.
Button up.
No, you could go full Swayze like we were talking about earlier.
Can he dance fight?
Full Roadhouse.
We're talking about Roadhouse.
Can he dance fight?
Yeah.
Yeah, dance fight like Swayze.
Do you ever go to 60? Mike Caramangelo, I think it's his name, 60-second classics on social media and YouTube and all that. He broke down all the fights in Roadhouse. 15 minutes.
Really?
Clips. It's amazing. It's amazing. Do you do shirtless Tai Chi in a barn with no AC?
Yeah, of course I do. I can't talk about that right now.
I love
though.
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse is so bad it's good.
Hey, amigo. and Dr. Hotness, Kelly Lynch.
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Hotness. That ain't happening. I ain't going to. Where's it in Missouri? Some little town in Missouri. Where Ben Gazzara is the boss hog of this town.
I know. And it's so funny. He's boss hog, and then you got Sam Elliott, and obviously that didn't end well in Roadhouse.
Who was only 44.
I know. What is he, 144 now?
Well, the movie is 30-some years old, but he looks the same.
I know he doesn't look any different. He's in those commercials with Gronk now. He looks just like he did in
I'm
Roadhouse.
sure he loves that, by the way.
Oh, yeah. They're like...
Beef. It's what's for dinner.
They probably looked
Ram
at
trucks.
Elliott and they said this. We're going to have you do some commercials with Rob Gronkowski. Who? Gronk. Oh, no, I'm not doing that. Here's how much we're going to pay you.
Yeah.
Second thought. Okay.
Fun fact.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell me the name of Sam Elliott's wife?
Oh, I see her. She's dark hair. I can't think of her name. Hold on. Karen Kim gives a K, right?
No.
Susan. Marge. Madge.
No.
Beulah.
Now you made me blank on it. Oh, my God. Don't do that. Yes, it was with a K.
Yeah, I can't think of her name.
Catherine Ross.
Yes. She used to,
Elaine from The Graduate.
yes. And she was in a lot of westerns and
Butch
stuff like
Cassidy and
that.
the Sundance Kid.
She was, that's right. She
was the teacher.
She was the daughter in The Graduate. That's right.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
See, I know stuff.
Well,
I know stuff. Did you ever see Sam Elliott's first movie? He was a surfer.
no. What movie?
I couldn't tell you the name of it. It was in the 70s. But he was a surfer, and I'm like, man.
Well, I could see Sam. He looks like a surfer.
Dude, he's so awesome, man. He's so amazing.
All right. So anyway, you don't care about these AFC and NFC championship games this Sunday.
I don't, man.
Are you gonna watch them?
Probably not.
Probably not.
I mean, yeah, I'll watch them. I'll be honest with you. College football, college basketball, and
Fish your
golf.
bags.
And golf.
Oh, you used
West
to write
Coast
for
Golf.
Golf Digest.
Golf Digest and Golf Week. But,
Yeah,
you know,
were
I
golf and dork. Yeah.
I don't play.
You just write about it.
I love watching it too, man. And, you know, I like NASCAR.
I know you do.
I do.
You love it. You can sit and talk with this guy
We're
right
gonna be
here.
really good friends then.
Listen to
NASCAR.
Press Pass on Sirius
Are you
XM Radio
not-
on weekends. I
Did you not
co-host
see
it.
my Kyle Larson championship hoodie that I'm wearing?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yep. My man loves his NASCAR. He does.
I have had some, actually, you know, when you think about the cathedrals of sports,
Yeah.
you think about Wrigley Field, Lambeau Stadium, Augusta National, Martinsville.
I've not been yet.
It's amazing.
I just went to Daytona for the first time last year.
I'm going next month. Well, I'm thinking about it because here's the conflict.
Okay.
Do you know what else is that same day?
The women's national champion. No. I'm thinking Darlington. Sorry.
Maybe.
It's
Maybe.
it's Carolina and Yukon.
Carolina, Yukon.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at
So
you.
my big butt will probably end up being here, which, you know, that doesn't stink. You know, not my big butt, but talking about being at the
Well, I was
game.
going to say, that's a hygiene thing.
But, you know, Yukon, South Carolina women, or Daytona 500. And a lot of people say it's a no-brainer, but it's really not. Here's the thing, though. I don't really like going to races unless it's an incredible venue, like a Martinsville, a Bristol.
Sure.
And Charlotte, now that they've got the Roval, is really awesome.
Yep.
I will say this, Terry Ford. I've been to sporting events all around the world. I ran with the Bulls, and I've seen it all, done it all. The number one sporting event I have ever attended was the Battle at Bristol 2016, Virginia Tech versus Tennessee football at Bristol Motor Speedway.
Oh, that
160,000 people.
160,000 people
insane.
going absolutely bonkers. Now,
that's crazy.
the bad part is you couldn't see anything.
Of course not.
Media gift was binoculars back when you used to get media gifts.
All right, before we get out of here, who wins this weekend?
I got really hoping for the Bills and the Commanders.
I'd like to see that too, but I
just
think
want something
Chiefs
fresh.
and Eagles.
I think it'd be a fun Super
I think
Bowl.
it's going to be
two fan bases that have been tortured for long enough.
No, absolutely. I think they're going to continue to be tortured. I think it'll be Chiefs.
Yeah,
and
it's hard to
Eagles.
bet against 15, man. And the Eagles, we'll see how healthy Jalen Daniel or
Because I'll tell
Jalen
you
Hurts
this now:
is.
if Philly can't throw the ball, I mean Washington can't stop the run, but if
No, they
Philly can't throw the ball,
Barkley can get his. He got a $150 in the loss.
but Hurts is going to have to make plays.
Hurts is going to have to make plays.
Because you know who's going to make plays? Daniels.
Yeah.
Are we completely discounting Josh Allen and the Bills?
No, I think they got a shot. I think they legitimately have a shot.
I think this is the best chance they've had up to this point. But
I'll say this: like
for some reason, it's hard to bet against the Chiefs.
The Chiefs have played in a ton of close games, and when you dance around the fire all the time,
ooh,
you know what I'm saying?
Ooh,
you can steal
dance
that
around the fire.
You can steal that with one of your columns.
You'll eventually get singed.
All right, Scott. Appreciate you, my friend. Posting Courier, Scott Hamilton. Tyler, Dave, good work. Post-game show with Jay and Elijah next here on The Game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.